Welcome to Rant on Reels. I'm Michael Fooch.
And I'm Xavier Barnett.
Today on the podcast, we will be doing deep dive reviews on the movie Spider-Man Far From Home, and we will be giving you our top 10 directors of all time.
Oh, top 10 directors.
Xavier, I don't know about you, but I'm really excited for this episode.
Oh, really? I'm really excited to deep dive into Spider-Man, the greatest
so am I.
superhero of all time.
Well, I'm not going to go that far.
The most popular superhero in
I also
the
will not
MCU.
go that... Oh, in the MCU? No, definitely not in the MCU.
Yeah, 100%.
Most popular in the Marvel, yes, but in the MCU, it's definitely... Look, you know I'm a Captain America guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it pains me to say this. Tony Stark is the most popular character in the MCU.
Yeah, Spider-Man's moving up there, though.
Well, of course he is. No, there's no doubt. Spider-Man's the most popular Marvel character. I will not argue
No, I said he's
that
moving.
fact.
Oh, I agree with you. Tony Stark for now, but he's moving.
Yeah, but it's unfair. Tony Stark's dead.
Whoa, spoiler alert for Endgame, everybody. Sorry about that. We got a guy that does not care about if people have seen the movie or not.
Can I tell you a funny story?
What?
So I've been keeping track of this, and this is the last 3 weeks we have not done spoiler warnings before we've started going into our movies.
Oh, wow.
So I'm just gonna throw this out there. You can pick and choose when to care about the spoilers.
Yeah, true. My bad. I've noticed that too. I didn't say anything. That's why
It's on the warning thing when they click on it.
Yeah.
If they should know us by now.
If you see a movie, if there's an hour-long discussion, there's definitely spoilers going on. Like, come on, don't be dumb now. What do you mean?
Did you have a good week, Xavier?
Yeah, I did. I had a pretty good week. Lots of news came out.
Before we get into news, you want to tell everyone they can find us?
No, I don't want to tell them. We're shutting down.
You say this joke all the time. It's not funny.
I think it's funny.
It's not funny.
We're going to keep rolling with it until it's... everybody, if you think this joke is funny, don't forget to like and subscribe and comment that this joke is funny, please. We're on YouTube. We're on iTunes, Spotify, and SoundCloud as well. Well, we're also on Instagram. I'm on Instagram, and so is Rant on Reels, and that's about it.
I wish I could argue with you, but it's true. I guess if we have to talk about news this week, there's really only one major story and a couple minor stories.
Yeah, I'm super offended.
Are you?
Yeah.
Extremely are you
offended.
Are you offended by the casting of Halle Bailey as Ariel? Not to be confused with Halle Berry? Or are you offended that people are offended and butthurt by the casting of Halle Bailey as Ariel?
Well, I'm actually offended by the people that are offended of Ariel being casted as. So I'm like the third level upper echelon version of being offended. Honestly, I love when this happens. It's always, no matter what, Hollywood can never win, okay? They try to change a character up a little bit. The one side of the political spectrum gets offended. They try to, and if they do an anime, like, remember Ghost in the Shell, that nonsense, they get in trouble for that. So I think what they should do is just do what they did with Alita, and just do CGI eyes and faces, and then make everybody happy.
You know, it's funny. I don't particularly care. I mean, if Bailey does a good job as Ariel, I'm going to be very happy with it, this casting. If she doesn't do a good job as Ariel, I'm not going to like it. I don't care of the color of her skin.
I do.
Do you really?
No.
My only issue is I'm surprised by it. First, I get what you're saying about, Hollywood trying to diversify, and I'm all for it. Do it. It'll be better for Hollywood to be more diverse. That being said, diversity works better when you create new characters. I've said this on the podcast before. I will say it again, because by creating new characters, you're creating no controversy. In fact, if anything, you're being more original and bringing more people to the theater. And when you take something like The Little Mermaid, for Disney, that should be a slam dunk $1 billion. See Aladdin, which I have criticized on this podcast. Take a look through it for those of you who haven't heard our podcast on Aladdin. I was very critical. Yet it's going to make $1 billion. These movies are these classic Disney movies, Lion King, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, Little Mermaid. These movies are designed to make money when they bring them into live action. What Disney is doing by hiring a controversial character could lead to people not going to see it. I don't think that will happen. We've seen this fake outrage before. I'm going to call it fake outrage. We saw it with Heath Ledger as the Joker. How did that movie do?
Oh, it did pretty well.
We saw it with Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. How did that movie do?
He's considered. People probably can't think of anyone else that could be casted as Wolverine. So
Because of him.
yeah,
People were very butthurt and outraged when Chris Evans was hired as Captain America. He was too scrawny. He's already Johnny Storm. He can't be Captain America.
yeah, I remember. I was like, what? Why? The guy that played Johnny Storm, he did well.
Now, that being all said, Halle Bailey has to show she can play the role. These three actors I just brought up, they knocked their role out of the park. Now, Ariel has been played before in live action, not in a movie, but on television. We've seen her in the animated version. There's an expectation she must follow. And if she does a great job, I will have no issue with her being black or white or brown or of any color of the skin, as long as she's good at her role.
What if she was a Martian? Would you have issue in that?
Like, what do you mean?
A Martian,
What?
like from Mars.
I don't, like...
Because they're not humans, so, I think it's okay.
Yeah, I'm fine. I don't care.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Like, I don't understand what Martians could be white or black.
Well, we don't know that.
Exactly. Martians don't exist.
That's what you think. We're not going down that rabbit hole.
No, we are not. But no, I'm excited. I'm excited for the Little Mermaid. I hope though that Eric is white. Can I tell you why?
Why?
Because this movie needs to take place in Denmark, and although in the water you could be any color of the skin and you could travel anywhere around the world in the water, Denmark is a white country. So I mean.
Whoa. So you're telling me there's not one single black person in Denmark?
In 1400 Denmark, I would be surprised. Yeah, there's probably a couple, but...
Maybe it's a modern...
Not a prince. Definitely not a prince in Denmark. I don't think there's ever been a black Danish prince. Okay. I'd have to look through my history to be sure. But I'm willing to bet on this one, Xavier. I'm willing to bet.
Okay, fine. Fair enough.
Now that being said, if they decide to change the plot and make it in Somalia for argument's sake, then yeah, make Eric black all they want. Okay. But again, calling him Eric would probably be like
it wouldn't be Eric.
A Somali name.
No. Look at me. There's a funny meme I saw of speaking of Somali. There's a funny meme I've seen of remember Captain Phillips? And,
I'm the captain now.
I'm the captain now. So there's one with him. He's like, look at me, and then it has him with the red wig on, and he's like, I'm the Little Mermaid now. I just could not stop screaming. I was screaming when I seen that.
The one thing I've heard, and I thought you were going to bring this up because I'm assuming you've heard it too, is that maybe this actually is fake outrage.
Yeah. Apparently a lot of the people that are tweeting I think make Ariel white again, it's like a bunch of bots.
or Trump supporters, one of the two.
I love how it sounds very similar to another hashtag that we know, Make America Great Again. Now make Ariel white again. Okay. So it's pretty funny, but apparently it's a lot of little bots and everything like that that's doing it. There are some real people that actually are upset.
Oh, of course there are. I can imagine there are a lot of people, especially people who hold Ariel highly, as a very important character.
Yeah.
Again, I watched The Flash, the television show. I know you used to watch it, and then you kind of gave up when it got really bad in season 4.
Yeah, Savitar, whatever.
Oh my god! But the last season I actually liked. But anyway, I digress. Well, Iris West Allen or the father, they're white characters in the comics, but both those characters both those actors do a fantastic job. So I have no issue with it.
Okay. Yeah, honestly, I guess it's for them. Some people I feel like they've been used to a certain race being that they relate to, and they can't find, and because it's their race, they relate to them more.
The only thing I'm going to say, and I mean this, is that I understand that this is a white character and an African American is playing it, But if we get into a situation in a year and 5 years where I'll use the character Storm a white person is cast at it, this can't go both ways, right?
Yeah.
You have to be. Let's see what that character can do. You're hiring the best actor or actress for the role.
Fair enough.
This color of skin should not matter.
But then again, it's kind of how are they going to do Storm? She's often, if she was white, would she be in some like Norwegian, like Norway or something? Because like the whole thing is about Storm. They think she's a goddess because they're in some village. She's in a village in Africa, so I guess it'd be some village in Russia or in Norway.
Yeah, I guess.
Call her a witch. It's interesting.
Little Mermaid is a Danish is a Danish princess in the North Sea. So I mean,
yeah, we'll see what happens.
I'm just saying it doesn't have to be Storm. It's just an example.
Yeah. Could you imagine if they made Black Panther white?
Oh my God! Don't. That would be okay. That's a bad one. That would be. They make Wakanda in South America instead of Africa?
Yeah, Wakanda. It's in Mississippi.
South
America.
I said like Brazil.
Oh, really? I was thinking... I was like, if they're going to they're going to go the full mile. They're going to put it in Mississippi. It's going to be called Black Donkey. And he's just going to go crazy.
All right. One other story I do want to talk about is Todd Phillips, the director of the Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix, came out and said that he is not following the comics at all. I took nothing from the comics other than the look of the Joker. Mm-hmm. Does that scare you, or do you not care?
Honestly, the comics have been trying to do this weird thing of giving Joker an origin, and it doesn't make quite a lot of sense, so I'm okay with him not following the comics. One of the origins is that he has a version of the Lazarus Pit in him, and he's been the Joker the whole time. One of the classic ones is, I don't know if you heard of the Red Hood one, where he was the guy that wore the red hood, and Batman saw him, and then he beat him up, and he fell into this... It was like Batman 1989 is pretty much the Red Hood. That's the Joker origin. That's another Joker origin. You know how, like...
The Jack Nicholson version.
Yeah.
To me, that is the best origin. That's the connection between Batman and the Joker, right? It's always personal between the two of them. And I feel like Tim Burton and whoever wrote that movie, they nailed it. They nailed that anger, that hatred that the two would have of each other, that he killed his parents. Like, to me, I can't think of a better... That's the first time I really watched anything Batman related, is the 1989 Batman movie. Mm-hmm. So... Every time I've seen a Joker origin story, I've always said, does it pass the Tim Burton test? And so far, none of them have. Even the Killing Joke, which everyone's supposed to be like the greatest comic book ever for Batman and the Joker. And I'm like, no, still like the Tim Burton version better.
Actually, that's your opinion. I don't like the fact that he killed his parents. I don't like that they have a personal connection. Because the Joker, the cool thing about him is nothing's personal with him.
Well, it's not personal, but it's not personal for the Joker. It's personal for Batman, and Batman always has taken the Joker personally, even in the animated series.
Well, yeah, because spoiler alert, he kills one of the Robins.
Yeah, that's the point, though, isn't it? That's the whole aspect. It's always been personal for Batman. It's not personal for the Joker. Jack Napier didn't kill the parents knowing that he was a kid. He didn't know. Oh, therefore I've created Batman in a couple years. Ha 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 ha. Like it's not one of those. And if anything, the Heath Ledger version, he does play it personally. But he's very personal Batman. You complete me.
Yeah, that one's more...
You. But everyone likes that version. I'm saying, like, but there's no origin story for him in that one, right? He just, as Alfred says, and my favorite... If we ever did superhero lines for our top 10, this would definitely be in my top 5.
That one.
Some people just want to watch the world burn, see the world burn.
That's the best explanation for the Joker, in my opinion.
That's the best... This is what Hollywood has kind of gotten away from. They love to give these superheroes, or not superheroes, or these villains, whether it's super villains in superhero movies,
sob stories,
or sob stories to relate to them. But some people are not good people. I can name you a bunch of psychopaths in real life that are just horrible people. Yeah. There are no origin stories. Do we want to feel bad for Hitler? Is that what we want to do?
No.
Let's give him an origin story. I'm sure he has an actual, more likely realistic origin story than some of the other people that out there. Mm-hmm. So some people are just bad.
Yep.
You just want to watch the world burn.
Yeah.
All right. In my opinion on this Joker thing, I'm fine with it. You know, my stance, keep
You
the
don't care
essence
about
of the
the-
characters, change the story a little bit. However, I will tell you this. It scares me. Because if you're taking nothing from the comics, that means you might not be taking the essence from the comics.
Yeah.
Right? To me, the MCU, one thing they do well, and we'll talk about as we do this, get into Far From Home, but there are things that are different in the comics from the movie, right? One thing, Mysterio's character, right? In the movie, he worked for Tony Stark. In the comics, he's just a failed magician.
It's failed stunt director, like special effects guy.
Yeah, whatever. So very, very different. Mm-hmm. But the essence of the character is very much held in Far From Home.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with the changes that they made to him.
Mm-hmm.
Ultron was created by Hank Pym.
But he's too controversial to be.
But not even controversial. In the MCU, how they created the MCU, it makes sense that Stark would make it. His big speech when he comes back from in Endgame is,
I want to make a shield across the.
Yeah, I wanted to do that. Don't you remember? Mm-hmm. You said we failed together. The whole thing, right? It all comes back to Stark's evolution. So I mean, I worry that taking nothing from it is bad in itself. Mm-hmm. If you're just saying I'm taking the Joker and his look and making my own movie and doing whatever the hell I want to do, that could be dangerous. Mm-hmm. Don't you agree or no? Not really.
It could be. We'll see what happens.
All right, should we get started into Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm so. No, Far From Home.
With Spider-Man, a version of Spider-Man, which is a part of the Spider-Verse.
No. You know what I'm going to say? No. I'm going to say I'm calling no on this, for one reason. Into the Spider-Verse is Sony, and I want Sony. They that means like Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield Spider-Mans could be in the Spider-Verse, and I'm like, no, I want Tom Holland and only Tom Holland.
Well, this is Sony too. I saw the Sony symbol.
It is, but Sony basically you know that Disney didn't pay for Spider-Man, right? As the deal, right? They just said you can make your money. We just want let us write the stories. You can make some of the money.
Oh wow, that's hilarious. I guess they don't need it though.
They print money, right?
Yeah.
Like this year, they have the top 5 movies in terms of money made.
Wow.
We got Captain Marvel, Endgame, Spider-Man, Aladdin, and
probably Lion King.
No. I'm talking about this already. What's the 5th one? Maybe Dave will tell us what the 5th one is by going to Box Office Mojo. Maybe it is Toy Story. Either way, it's those would be the 5 already, and we're halfway through the year.
GG
all right.
For Disney.
So I don't know if I'm willing to say he's in the Spider-Verse. That means that we have to acknowledge all of the other Spider-Men that are your favorite, right?
No.
Because Andrew Garfield was on your list last week of
worst cast.
Yeah, so I'm just going to throw that there. Okay, so what are your opening thoughts on Far From Home?
Far From Home, man. It's just... what a time to be alive to be a Spider-Man fan. You know, perfect... Tom Holland is the perfect casting choice for Spider-Man. All the characters are great. This is just classic MCU written all over. What else can I say? This is I'm spoiled right now. I got Endgame and now I got Far From Home. Like, this is not fair for me. Like, this shouldn't exist. I really felt the special effects were insane. There's one sequence with Mysterio that's just insane. It's amazing. They explain Spider-Man's story arc. You really feel like he grows as a character in this movie. The relationships between all the characters seems real, and just say. I guess I'll just end on that. I'll go more into it.
Before I give my opening thoughts, yes, it was Toy Story. You were right. So that was top 5.
Yeah, buddy.
All right, my opening thoughts on Spider-Man Far From Home. I don't get it. I just don't get it. Marvel, once again, was faced with the impossible task of following up an Avengers movie. This time, Endgame. And once again, they brilliantly follow it up. It's brilliant. Like, it's brilliant. Everything in this film lived up to what the MCU has built over the last 20 plus movies.
Yeah, buddy.
Plot, character themes, character development, humor, the action sequences. But most importantly, what this movie has to do that no other movie had to do is explain the biggest problem the MCU had. Explaining where 5 years went and how the half of the human race that were gone for 5 years just appeared and how that was going to work. They also have to explain why the Avengers aren't there. We just had a huge epic fight sequence where all the Avengers fought together. So they're all in the same universe now. They should all have to work together again.
Amazing fight
but
sequence.
They had to, amazing, and they had to explain that. I love the homage played to Tony Stark around the world. I love the world building of that. I love the character Mysterio. I knew very little about Mysterio going into this. And oh my God, can we talk about how great of an actor Jake Gyllenhaal is?
Yeah, he was great.
He was so like.
Spoiler. Well, no, we'll go spoiler. We're in spoilers. That switch up from like, wow, I'm such a good hero to like, what's going on here? That was
you just took the words out of my mouth. That's exactly what I was gonna say. Amazing.
Yeah.
Like he holds the crazy in and then just lets it out.
Yeah,
and it's like, brilliant.
This guy's.
And overall, I'm going to end my opening thoughts with this. This is just another fantastic chapter in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yes.
That's what this is.
Yeah, as you can tell, this is going to be a Spider-Man jerk-off.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be because but you know, and I saw it again today. I've seen it twice. He's going to see it again tomorrow. And I've kind of made this decision that I'm very biased towards the MCU. People who know me, I'm a fanboy, right?
Yeah.
And I try to watch it twice because the second time you tend to be more critical. I liked it more the second time. I found other things. I'm like, oh my God, that helps explain the story. Because the one thing the MCU I think has put above anything else is the story. And if you got a good story, you got a great movie.
Yeah, buddy, that is so true.
I've said this before, right? We went through really before the MCU, or as the MCU was even developing. And I remember this is before we started podcasting. We were going to see these movies, and it was all style, no substance. Let's blow shit up and see what happens.
Yeah.
And get people, because people want to see things blowing up.
Explosion.
Michael Bay. Right? Transformers. Yeah. Let's blow more up. More destruction, more CGI. We'll just throw it out there. You'll love it. Hellboy, go nuts. But what Marvel decided to do and what Disney does really well is they take a story and then they add everything around it and saying, we can still have explosions, but you know what people really like? They like to feel. They like to go on a roller coaster.
They want to know the characters. They want to see the characters develop and make, at least decent decisions and not dumb decisions halfway through the movie and totally change who the character is.
Think of it like this. Think of movies that have had a lot of sequels. I'm trying to think of an
Fast
example
and Furious.
Fast and the Furious. Dominic Toretto is completely different from one to this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, he still has the same value of family, but they changed his character completely.
Yeah, he's... he works for the government now, and he's like a government spy, dude. He went from stealing VCRs to becoming a government spy. Okay.
Yeah, it's crazy. Think of what they've done with that. And I think it's a bad example because I think that's a franchise that has gotten better, right? Mm-hmm. By changing Toretto, they actually made the franchise better.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think of we'll use Batman as an example. Whereas, the first 4 Batman movies, they got worse and worse and worse as they went on, right? Batman's great, Returns is very good, and then Forever and Beyond and Batman and Robin are just brutal. And it's part of the reason is that they keep adding to the story, and they keep trying to outdo the last movie.
Yeah.
But the one thing the MCU has not done is try to outdo itself.
Yeah. You don't need to outdo yourself.
No.
You always just build up to...
Yeah.
You have your build-up movies, explain the world, build the world, and then you have your big
your Endgame,
finales.
Your Infinity Wars, your Age of Ultron, your
First
original Avengers.
Yeah.
But after those movies, I think of you went from, at the time, Infinity War was the most epic movie they had, and you followed up with, I would argue, the least epic movie in the MCU, where there was no villain in this movie. It's just more of a fun, just calm movie.
Yeah.
And then they revved it right up to 121 with
Endgame.
With Endgame.
Well, they had a little Captain Marvel before it. And then... than Endgame.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot Captain Marvel in there too. But again, just revved up. All right, let's deep dive into this movie though. So before we even started about this movie, I have like 2 questions before we even get into the movie. So my first is: was Spider-Man the right choice to follow the Endgame? Was he the right character to lead?
Okay, well he is the second most popular character in the MCU.
Okay, listen. Cap is still number 2, okay?
I don't know about that.
He is. Come on, let's.
He gets his cheers. Spider-Man's cheers are pretty good.
In Infinity War, who had the biggest cheer? The arrival of Captain America.
because Captain America had a better entrance than Spider-Man that one. But then when Spider-Man came back, who had the cheer?
Okay, who had a bigger cheer? Cap holding Mjolnir in that movie, or Spider-Man coming back?
that
I'm
was
just saying.
Mjolnir.
I'm just saying. Like, if we're gonna go by cheers, you got to go by cheers in general.
No, well, dude, the cheers when Spider-Man came back from life was louder than the cheers when Captain America appeared in Infinity War, because those are equal entrances. So.
Oh my God! Just
Spider-Man
tell
is
me.
the
Do you think
second
he's the right choice?
Of course, he's the right choice. Spider-Man is probably the second most popular character in the MCU, arguably.
Okay, I think it's the right choice too. And what I like about choosing Spider-Man is where you would really see the effects of Endgame are with children, right? Because in an adult world, if I missed 5 years, like if I disappeared tomorrow and came back 5 years from now, it's not going to change. I'm still going to be a teacher. It's not going to really affect my life, right? I sure have to get to understand new technology or the government or things like that, but it's not going to affect me, right? Now, that being said, children, it's a huge effect on them because they're still in school, right? Like their job, they don't have a job. Their job is to go to school.
Yeah, and they change, and that's when you're growing, so you see a lot of changes in 5 years as a kid versus 5 years as an adult. Like 30 to 35, not a big change from, like, let's say 15 to 20.
And another thing that they could do in school, which they did in this movie, is have a class trip to go around the whole world, or at least all of Europe, and you get to see the actual effects of how the world views Endgame. Or views Tony Stark in this case.
Yeah.
With Tony Stark propaganda all across
over
the world.
place, yeah.
Now, justified completely.
Iron Man, the hero that saved us all. I love those. I love the little murals that they had all around.
Oh my God, so good! The little vigils too,
Yeah.
like where they have light up for him. It's so, but it's true. Like that's how the world would. That's how it would be.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, it would unite the world. And that's great. I loved it. One more quick question: do you think that we got more information in this movie than we did in Endgame? Is there more going on? Like Endgame was great, but Endgame is a very basic plot. People suffered. People figured out a way to stop suffering. Big battle sequence. Movie over.
Probably the last couple of, like, the 2 end credits. Well, the very last end credit probably gave us as much information as we needed. Because I don't know where the MCU is going with that. I'm excited.
Okay. I'm stoked too. There's a lot to talk about. Let's get into it. I know I've said this already, but okay. So the movie starts in Mexico. It actually starts with Nick Fury and Maria Hill, and they encounter this supernatural kind of person, and we find out that his name is Quentin Beck, a.k.a. Mysterio. And he seems like he's on the good side because he fights this kind of like sand demon, sand creature.
Elemental.
We find out it's an elemental. This is the earth and elemental. Now, what are your thoughts on starting with the Shield people?
I thought it was pretty good. Explains where it kind of drives the plot a little bit, you know, like, okay, so there's a problem going on even after the defeat of Thanos. We still got busy work going on, you know. There's still issues that need fixing, need cleaning up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I like this start point because, you know, it shows that Spider-Man is not pushing this plot forward. And the one thing I've liked about this Spider-Man that I have about the Andrew Garfield, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans is he's a kid. How is he in this huge world and affecting it?
Yeah.
Whereas in both Homecoming and this world, he's just a cog in a bigger machine. And this is the machine working, and he's going to be a cog in it.
Yeah.
And I like that about this because it makes more sense. This is in the and I get why they didn't in the other Spider-Man movies, because Tobey Maguire was in his own universe. He had no one else.
Yeah.
But in a movie where you have other people and it's much bigger than just New York, you need other people pushing plot forward.
Yeah. Especially
and it's
guys
good.
like Shield.
I agree. What are your initial thoughts on Beck? Now, I'm not talking about good or bad. We're just initial thoughts on him.
Like, I liked it. I saw it in the trailers, and I was like, I saw the costume,
watch
and
the
it was great.
He looked good. Like, that was I remember.
Great Mysterio costume.
Yeah, it was very good.
Even Fishbowl and everything. I was so surprised they had that. I was so happy they did.
I was intrigued by him. Now, he's giving this perception that he's good, and I don't want to talk about whether you agree with it at this point in the movie, but there's this, he's very intriguing as a character. And he pretty much just starts shooting, like, what does he shoot exactly?
Blue, green lasers?
Yeah, is it lasers? Is that what it is? He calls it lasers later in the movie, but is that what it is?
I guess, but technically it's not anything, so. Because it's just regular.
Yeah,
it's
that's
just
true. So anyways, so that kind of cuts to black, and then we get the Marvel scroll, right? The Marvel, like, it's movie starting. But instead of, like, the Marvel music, we get Whitney Houston's I Will Always Love You.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest, this is probably my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah, you see Cap, you see Tony Stark first.
Stark, then Cap, then Vision, and then Romanoff. I think it's Romanoff, then Vision, and then back to Stark. And it's just like a in memoriam.
Yeah.
All the people who died.
Trying to fix the blip. That's what they call it.
Yeah,
Instead of the snap.
We'll talk about it in a second, but I want to talk about this for 1 second. Why do you think Cap's in here?
Because they think he's dead.
So you think the Avengers have hidden that he's an old man, that he's just dead?
Yeah.
See, I think that's what it is. Or did old man Cap die?
Or that could have happened too.
Because it's like 8 months later, right? It says between when the first scene of that movie with Fury to this scene is 8 months.
Okay. It could be. He could be dead. Or he's retired. He didn't look dead.
He was old, right? It's 2025. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know when he went back. I don't know how old he is. He could be anywhere between like 80 years old and like 120.
Yeah. Who knows?
It's true. I guess this is the other thing I want to know. Could there have been a more satisfying start to this movie?
No. I like it. The jokes were really good. That was a funny part. I like that part in the scene.
But it's good homage, right?
Yeah.
It's good homage to Endgame. Because, like, Endgame was such a high for this universe, and it's not like they're like, okay, we're just starting a new journey. We're going to go back. And we're going to make sure we understand. We know that what we did in Endgame was very, very big. And this just allows us to see it. And then after that, we get into the blip. You know that I was reading an article by Kevin Feige that he said it was always supposed to be called the blip, that the fans called it the snap, and it just kind of stuck.
Oh, okay.
So the snap now refers to them disappearing, and the blip refers to them coming back.
Yeah.
So we get all of this explanation of what the blip is. We even see it in video, right? There's the in Midtown High, the gymnasium when they all disappear, and then 5 years later when they all reappear.
It was pretty funny seeing everybody just run into each other.
It's so true. And then we get a picture of a girl to explain it. This is a girl from 5 years ago who blipped. 5 years later, same girl. But here's a picture of a kid who didn't blip 5 years ago, and here's a picture of them now. Do you want to talk about this? Because I know you were very upset about people who thought they could not explain this.
Oh, what? If you were part of... So what? Everybody was upset that they're like, oh, what's going to happen to Peter Parker and all his friends? Like, how are they going to explain that? I'm like, it's pretty easy. Exactly what I said. Exactly how the movie explained is what I said would happen, right? You would leave all the important characters, so the MJ, your Flash, your Ned Leeds, Betty Brant, they would all disappear. I knew they all disappeared. They'd stay the same age, and then everybody else that's older, they just go into the same grade as that person.
Yeah.
That's what I would do if I was a teen. I just thought of it like that, right? And that's exactly what happened.
I was like you. I had so many people come up to me and be like, "But how are they going to explain this?" I'm like, it's so simple.
Yeah.
The hard part is what we're going to see with Aunt May is the people that now don't have their job anymore. The people that, let's say you were married and you disappeared and your wife moved on and married someone else.
Yeah,
those are the real stories, and we kind of see Aunt May dealing with a charity with that. Mm-hmm. We also even like the Betty Brandt's co-host Jason says like my younger brother is now my older brother, right? Like even like some of the real life problems that people had. I think this is very well explained.
Yeah. No.
So we also find out from Betty that all the people who blipped, they lose their credits. So they have to go on a trip over the summer, a science trip for 2 weeks to get their credits for the missing semester.
It's pretty funny.
That's not fair. You think that's fair? Is that a fair thing?
Yeah, it's fair. Sorry that you died, but school's still important. So.
Yeah, it is. And I mean...
not died, disappeared into nothingness.
But like your punishment is have to go to Europe for 2 weeks. I don't think that's punishment.
Hey, man, I guess it's kind of punishment if you have to sit beside that one teacher all day.
Which one?
The one that's wife pretended that she blipped.
Oh my god, that actor stole the show, by the way.
Yeah, he was great.
That was the best side character, Mr. Harrington. He was in the first one, right? He was the one that took them to to Washington.
Yeah.
And it's like, I couldn't lose a kid again. That actor. That actor was fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. That takes us to Peter Parker. I mean, we've been talking about this for like 30 minutes and haven't mentioned Peter Parker yet. Mm-hmm. He has a plan. Because like both Betty and Jason are like, what's gonna happen now? There's no more Avengers. What's gonna happen?
Yeah.
And it's like, who's got a plan? And Peter's like, I got a plan. Well, his plan has nothing to do with the Avengers.
No.
His plan is to get MJ. He's going to. He bought like a dual headphone thing. They're going to watch movies on the entire way to Venice. In Venice, he's going to buy a little glass necklace of the Black Dahlia, her favorite movie, and for the killing. And then when he gets to Paris, he's going to give her the necklace and tell him he likes her.
Yes. Good plan.
Good plan. Now,
romantic.
Is this a lot of left field, though? This like for MJ?
Not really. I mean, it's been a little minute, and as you can tell, they kind of warmed us up for it with the first movie in Homecoming.
We know she liked him. Like I think that was pretty clear.
Yeah.
But him liking her, that was a...
Yeah, sometimes, you go on in life and the thing that you're looking for was right in front of you the whole time.
I agree. And we don't know how much time has passed from Homecoming to this. It could have been...
Yeah.
Well, it's at least 8 months.
It looks like at least a year because they had to start the year all over again.
Well, it's also 8 months from the whatchamacallit, from when they got back at least, right?
Yeah.
Because Fury, they already had Blick, right? So absolutely, I think a lot could happen in 8 months or a year. So I had no issue with that. Did you catch all the Iron Man artwork in the background?
Yeah.
Again, just how people react. The assignment is probably draw Iron Man in some kind of thing. Like, it just shows like the world building that the MCU is doing.
Yeah, the way Iron Man has affected the world.
100%.
People love him.
So that takes us to kind of Aunt May, who's now running a charity for people that have been affected by the blip. And she gives like a personal story. Again, just what a touch by the writers here. Like a personal story saying like when she blipped, she was back in her apartment, but now someone else was living in this apartment. And, like, they thought she was a ghost. And, like, it was, like, this whole thing. And, like, this just, again, gives us an understanding of the real life problems that what happened in Infinity War and Endgame would cause the world.
Yeah.
Peter is now, she knows that Peter is Spider-Man. And Spider-Man is right beside her, there to help raise some money.
Yeah, just... a special guest appearance from Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like, what's up, everybody?
And he gives a very awkward speech, which I found initially to be interesting.
Yeah.
We'll go into that in a second. And then Happy comes, and he gives like a $500,000 check for Pepper. Again, world building. Mm-hmm. Fantastic job. Happy tells Peter that Nick Fury's calling for you.
Yeah.
And he's not excited about this.
He's like, I don't want to talk to him. He's creepy.
When he gets asked by reporters, like, who's going to be the next Tony Stark? Are you going to be the next Tony Stark? he escapes. Like, he just takes off.
Yeah.
He ghosts Nick Fury. What are your thoughts on Peter Parker not embracing being
The
an
hero?
Avenger?
It's understandable. I mean, he
Like, he avoids
probably has
fighting.
PTSD from what happened, right?
He went
He's
into
a kid.
space.
Yeah, he went into space. He's also
He's 16 years
16
old.
years old. Died, came back, fought for the sake of the entire universe. I mean, like, what 16-year-old's gonna think? Yeah, everything's all sweet and dandy. It's a lot to take in. So he's probably thinking like, maybe I want to retire now.
And
like,
it's also that last battle. Like, it hit him hard, right? Like,
Yeah.
when he was trying to deliver the gauntlet or get into the time machine.
yeah, there was that was some crazy battles, right?
He almost got
Yeah.
killed, and then like he gave it to Captain Marvel, and then his
Yeah.
his father figure died, right? Tony
in
Stark
front
died.
of his eyes, right?
So I think it makes sense, and I heard one person like that I was chatting with is like, oh, it's stupid because in Homecoming, like, that's all he wanted to be was an Avenger. But this also shows you like the development of character, right? Because at
Yeah.
the end of Homecoming, he's like, no, I want to be the neighborhood Spider-Man. He gives up it,
Mm-hmm.
this idea to be an Avenger, and then like you said, and what I kind of just kind of talked about in Endgame, he experienced like a lot of PTSD. He's probably
Yeah.
he wants to move away from this.
Look at Tony Stark in Iron Man 3. He had PTSD
Yeah.
from a regular space invasion. This guy has PTSD from like the universe. So, and Tony Stark was older. So let's cut the kid some slack. He's just trying to do his best.
Yeah, and we don't know like how temporary or how long term it is, right? Like, he doesn't want to bring a suit to Europe. It's
Yeah.
Aunt May who puts it in, which is
He
a
just wants to
hilarious
be on
scene when he
vacation.
opens when the border security opens the luggage and there's just a Spider-Man
Yeah.
costume with a note saying, "You forgot this, Aunt May."
Mm-hmm.
So good. Do we need a speech between May and Spider-Man about how much, like, oh, why did you tell me you were Spider-Man? Or, like, because that's how the first movie ended, brilliantly, might I add, with, like, the...
What the? Yeah. No, not needed. I don't think we can it's okay to have some imagination. Plus the fact that she accepted it because they had the little,
funeral scene?
not the funeral scene one, and then they also had the scene where where they were at the charity event, right?
Oh, I mean, even at that point, like, at the charity, like, even before, I guess. I'm fine with it, but I was fine with it because, like, to me, whether it would be in the animated Spider-Man, which I grew up with, or even the Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans, I always assumed Aunt May knew.
Yeah.
I was always supportive of it. The only thing I thought about in Homecoming is Aunt May was very protective of Spider-Man, which was a very different portrayal of her. This is more the Aunt May that I was expecting, or I would expect to see.
Okay.
Like Pete, you got this. I know you got this. You're a great Spider-Man. Like, you should be leading the Avengers because you are a great kid. And I really see that in Aunt May. And I actually, again, one of the reasons I like this movie more than Homecoming is because of Aunt May's portrayal, which, although she has probably just as big of a role in this movie, it's a little different.
Okay.
Did you catch the Easter egg on the suitcase?
No, I didn't.
The suitcase, when Peter closes it, has the initials BFP on it.
Ben Parker.
Ben Franklin Parker.
Okay.
Yeah, right?
Oh, you saw that in the trailer video, didn't you?
Nope. I saw it the second
Oh.
time I watched the movie.
Oh, okay. All right. Because I remember
There are
they
certain
said that
things-
in they said it in the. I watched a Easter egg video and they said that in there.
Oh, so you did know?
I remembered just
After,
now.
okay.
After you told me, I'm
There are
like,
a
oh
couple
yeah.
Easter eggs that after I made my review, I looked at Easter eggs to kind of throw in
Yeah.
there. Some of them are like on his passport. They have like his birthday, which is August 10th, which is like the day of his first like published comic book was published.
A lot of license plates had like
Issues.
issues and stuff, or signs had issues
Yeah.
of like where the Sandman's introduced, the Molten Man and everything like that.
Like little things.
Yeah.
I liked some of it. Like on the check, apparently, like has like in the top right corner of the check is like that Pepper gives is like the credit card company in the MCU or in the Marvel comics. Things like that I found interesting, or like the fact that he was like a Mets fan and
Yeah.
those things are not as big.
What
Like,
about Ned and Betty Brant dating?
I didn't know
They
that
dated in
Ned
real life.
in the first movie that, or in this movie, that his last name was Leeds.
Yeah.
Because from what I remember in the animated show, Ned Leeds is the Hobgoblin.
Yeah, so he's a reporter first, and then he becomes the Hobgoblin by accident. So who knows? Maybe Ned Leeds could become. And he does date Betty Brant, who's also one of the reporters as well.
Yeah.
So they dated each other than Ned Leeds. So who knows? I don't think he's gonna be the Hobgoblin.
I hope not. Well, I mean, not to make so much fun of him, but I don't think he can be the Hobgoblin.
Yeah.
He's a little bit bigger.
Yeah, he's.
than what
I don't want to be.
Because the Hobgoblin is like is he like the Green Goblin where he's like affected like stronger?
Well, he becomes a demon.
Oh,
So.
okay, that's fair.
Yeah. Hobgoblin's a little different than the Green.
So yeah, and but like I said, like this Peter thing about not wanting the suitcase is very relatable to a lot of people. So they get onto the airplane, and there's just a comedy of errors on this airplane. It's just I personally love this sequence. You can tell me what you think in a second, but so Flash, who's like making fun of Peter and the booze, and like all MJ does is he's actually 16 because he blipped.
Really blip. Yeah,
but again, such a subtle little writing tip, like. My ID would say I was born in in 1985, so I'm actually 38. No.
Yeah.
That's not true.
Physically, you're still the same age.
So I like that scene, and then we have the musical chair scene. So like Peter wants to sit beside MJ, so he gets Ned to go kind of tell like you have a perfume allergy. So this perfume allergy, the teacher hears it, Mr. Harrington, and he moves everyone around. So MJ ends up beside Brad, who is now one of these kids that was 5 years younger.
Yeah, now
he's like a little ladies' man of all ladies' men, apparently. He's now the heartthrob. He's interested in MJ as well. Peter ends up beside the teacher.
Yeah.
So funny. Who it's like, oh, we can share headphones together.
Yeah.
And then Betty ends up beside Ned, and the two of them, by the end of the flight, will become dating and lovebirds. And then there was a washroom scene where Peter's in the goes to the washroom and like makes a mess and then opens the door and it's MJ. So he just kind of goes back in and cleans the washroom.
Yeah.
And then when he gets out, it's Brad.
Yeah.
Did you like the scene?
I love this scene. I've loved the movie from start to finish. The beginning I like because it's more comedic, like having a good role, and then it starts turning to like get real serious around near that. The stakes start to raise.
This kind of goes to something you like about what you've said on this podcast before, like in the Endgame podcast, is the heroes interacting with each other. Characters interacting is the best part. Like if you've got good interactions, it helps move your plot around. That entire scene set up so many things in this movie.
Yeah,
and without even trying. Even the other teacher, Mr. Dell, played by
J.B. Smooth.
Oh my god, I think he is so funny.
He is.
Both
super
those
funny.
teachers.
In Grand Theft Auto, he plays one of the. He's on one of the funny talk show radio stations, and his bit is hilarious.
I really like him as an actor, and
he needs
to
be in more movies.
And fell asleep.
Yeah, he's like, I just took an Ambien. He's like the one that literally cares the least. And then the other one cares a lot. I like that contrast as well.
Yeah, and I'm so glad they brought Harrington back. Like in the first movie, he was funny, but he was such a side character that he didn't really do much. Like he had 3 lines in the movie. In this movie, he had a much bigger role, and like so many things like you felt for him. You talked about like his wife pretending pretending to blip, which we find out, which he tells Peter on this airplane. So that means we know he didn't blip.
Yeah.
It wasn't snapped out of existence, and that his wife pretended she was, and he just went on living his normal life.
Yeah, and they had a funeral for her and everything.
I feel so bad for him, and like even the scene in Venice where he's like taking a picture and like he drops his camera into the canals. I was like, oh my god, I felt for him, and this is this is a little thing. It has nothing to do with any major plot points in this movie, but it's why this movie's so good, because a small character who ends up steals pretty much any scene he's on, steals any scene that he's in. You will relate to him. You feel for him, and that's just great writing. Did you catch the movies on the plane?
Yeah, it was
I only caught the Iron Man one the first time.
I caught the. I think it was the Black Panther one.
The Wakanda. It's a
Yeah.
Wakanda story.
Mhm.
There's also the second time because I wanted to watch the others. There's three. So there's the Iron Man one that he actually watches, and again showing why he's reluctant to be Spider-Man because like Tony Stark was a mentor to him.
Yeah.
We see this Wakanda story, and then this one called Nova.
Ooh.
Is there a reference there, Xavier, that you might know?
Yeah.
Because I didn't know. I know now because I looked it up.
But the Nova Corps are good though. They're in the Guardians.
Wait, I thought Nova was a Spider-Man villain.
No, the Nova Corps.
Oh, I thought there was a Spider-Man villain I read about.
Oh no, I thought it was the Nova Corps that it was about.
Okay, maybe it is. I thought it was like a Spider-Man villain. But I could
Who's
be wrong.
Nova?
I don't know.
I know Richard Rider Nova.
Yeah, we'll have to take a look. But then they get to Venice, and the students. I talked about like the scene where Peter gets pulled over and opens the suitcase, and the attendant just takes the banana and
Yeah.
nothing about the Spider-Man suit. So they all see the sights. Peter ends up buying the Black Dahlia glass necklace, and then he's talking to MJ, and she finds her favorite word she's ever heard of.
Yeah, what was it?
Bon?
Bono?
Bon.
Bon,
I think
okay.
it's just Bon. I don't know what it means.
Yeah, and then the one
Means
guy he
everything
said
apparently.
Bond to something, and the guy looked very upset.
Yeah. And then Peter notices the water shrinking, and the water elemental shows up. Peter doesn't have a suit because it's at the hotel room.
Yeah.
But good heroes, true heroes, want to protect no matter what. And he puts on. I love how he put on his bracelets, like the double taps. That's so cool.
And then he finds the classic mask, classic Spider-Man move where he doesn't have his suit, so you'll find like a paper bag on his head.
So there is a
And,
Nova for Phase 4 that I'm seeing over there. Is it a villain for Spider-Man? Oh,
Told you, the Nova Corps.
it is a Nova Corps.
Yeah, it's Nova Corps. That's
So
Nova.
maybe the Nova Corps will be villains.
No, they're good guys.
But maybe they might be villains. The Skrulls are bad, and they've been good so far.
Well, that's true.
So maybe they're gonna
Nova,
reverse it.
but Nova's a superhero. He's like
Oh,
they're
he's a
like the Green
superhero.
Lantern. They're the Green Lantern version of.
Oh, then
They're like the Marvel version of Green Lanterns.
Oh wait, the Nova Corps was in
Guardians.
Sorry, they're not the ones with Black Adam or with Adam, are they?
No,
Who are those?
those are like the Sovereign.
Yeah, sorry, I got it mixed up with the Sovereign. John C. Reilly was part of the Nova Corps.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay.
There you go.
I'm
There
with
you
you
go.
now. That's
Now
why they
you
gave
got
him the Soul Stone.
Yeah.
I totally, or not Soul Stone, the
Power Stone.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
with you. All right, back to Spider-Man. So, he finds a little the classic mask, puts it on, and then Mysterio shows up, and Peter helps Mysterio take down this water elemental. Peter does, pretty much all he does is like save buildings.
Yeah, which makes sense now. Now it makes sense to like, as you can tell, like, oh, how did he not know? Well, he was saving a building and not actually fighting the monster.
Exactly, which hard for him to do without his suit too, right?
Yeah.
What did you think of the sequence with Mysterio fighting this water elemental?
Oh man, that's the sequence. This is. I'm not gonna lie. Out of all of them, this is the worst one. Not like terrible worse, because they just get better and better as it goes on.
This one's more comedic. Like
Yeah.
I love this one, and when he's trying to save that, when Peter's trying to save the tower and it falls and he smacks his head on the bell and then just drops and then does it again and lifts himself up and hits the bell again.
Yeah.
Priceless. And then Peter doesn't do anything here, right? Which is why no one would suspect him. But I thought I really liked it. I thought the mask was funny. I thought, how at the end he makes sure the necklace is okay. It's very well done. What are your thoughts? So after this, he kind of calls Aunt May to say everything's okay. She asks how the the plan is going, and Peter's like not very good because he looks at Brad and Brad kid, tough character, and Happy's there. What are your thoughts on the Happy Aunt May relationship?
Well, you can tell something's up because it's funny because his face just changes when he sees Happy and Aunt May talking. It's just like, what's going on here? And then he's like, is this guy hitting on my aunt? It's like your best friend trying to date your sister, It's just totally weird. I'd be awkward out too, but Hogan doesn't care.
You know,
Love is love, baby.
yeah. And you know what's funny? Like Nebula and Endgame, like Happy's been in a lot of movies. And this is the first time I liked him in Homecoming too. He's more of a Spider-Man character to me than he is an Iron Man character.
Yeah.
And he's fantastic in this movie. And I like it. I like this relationship a lot.
Yeah.
And I like even how it kind of came to be in the end where like she's like, "Oh, it's just a summer fling," and he's like in love with her.
Yeah.
It's so good. We'll see where it
Maybe
goes.
it can grow
Maybe
more.
grow. We'll see.
It's funny because like in the comics, he marries Pepper, but I think they're just keeping Pepper. And
No,
Tony
they can't, and
together
they can't
forever.
do that. And that's
No,
and
that's
this-
I'm
this-
okay with
yeah.
that though. That's what I said.
Yeah.
It's good for to have the difference. So I'm okay with him talking to Aunt May.
And this is another reason why I like a younger version of Aunt May. I know Jerry absolutely detests this, but
Yeah,
I
he
like it.
definitely
But
does. I don't-
If you have Aunt May as a 7-year-old, you can't do this. Aunt
Yeah.
May becomes a stat like Aunt May in the animated show and Aunt May in like the original Spider-Man movie. She's static.
Yeah,
Like she does nothing.
yeah. But it'd be interesting because like I guess now that he's young, you can't really do the plot point of Doc Ock marrying Aunt May. Because that's one of the things. Because Doc Ock's a little bit on the older side too. But we'll see.
But you could but she's in her 50s, right?
Yeah.
Doc Ock is in his 60s.
He gets younger. I don't know. It's weird. They always do that plot point. I thought it was weird. I just find it weirdly strange because like every time I see Aunt May, I'm kind of oddly attracted to her. I don't know if I should be after all the times I've seen her at a different incarnation.
That's true.
So I'm just like, oh, like
I mean,
what
Sally
I said.
Field was the Aunt May in the last one, and she's not bad looking either.
Sally Field was.
I always think of her back in Smokey and the Bandit days, but she's the mom from Mrs. Doubtfire. That's where you would know her from.
No, I forget what she looks like. I have to go look it up later.
Okay. So the other thing I found really funny about this sequence is we find out his name is Mysterio, which means like man of mystery, which is perfect for how he gets
Yeah.
that name. And Mr. Dell has to explain this to like the science, and he explains it with one word. Do you remember the word?
What was it?
Witches. That's the theme of his everything he explains. Witches. It's all witches. So that leads us to Nicholas Fury.
Yeah, great entrance.
So Peter Parker and Ned, they walk into the room. Ned gets shot
And with the train.
with a trank, and he's not happy about Peter ghosting him. There's a great scene here where he keeps trying to explain what's happening, and people keep knocking on the
Just
door.
knocking on the door and interrupting him.
First, it's Mr.
teacher.
Harrington. It's like, "Are you okay? I can give you counseling." And he's like, "No, we're okay.
Yep.
Good, because I'm not
Then
qualified
I
to
think
give you."
it's Betty.
Yep. Who wants to go see Ned? He's sleeping, and then it's the other teacher, Mr. Dow,
Yeah.
and Fury's like, "There's one more person that knocks
It's
on that
gonna be
door,"
another funeral.
and he takes him to his lair. And in the lair, we see Maria Hill, and Beck is there. And Beck says that he's from another Earth. And Peter
Earth
right away
616.
explains this.
Do you see the? Do you
It's
know
a-
the
it's a
Easter egg
spider-
for that?
It's a Spider-Verse, right? Into the Spider-Verse?
No, Earth 616 is the original universe for the original Marvel comics, so they're all called Earth 616. So right then and there, I should have known that. For me, I should have known that Mysterio was bad because Earth 616 is already a universe, and the MCU has its own actual Earth that it's called.
What MCU?
I forget what it's called. It's like Earth 82 something. But so it's already in the multiverse it's in the multiverse for the comics.
Interesting. So I'm going to ask you this question, but I think I know the answer to it now. Do you like that the MCU is bringing in the multiverse?
Well, they already brought it. They teased it for us in Endgame a little bit. So I like the multiverse because that means you can have alternate versions of superheroes, and it makes a little bit of sense. It makes things interesting, but sometimes the problem with the comics is they did too much multiverses, and then it gets really confusing after a while.
And that's why I'm hesitant. I'm not going to criticize again. I gotta I'm not putting my foot in my mouth again with Marvel. I'm not going to criticize the decision of bringing a multiverse, simply because I think it could be confusing. I think it could hurt plot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I trust them at this point.
They
in time.
did time travel well, so
They did.
So
that's
if
why-
they can do, they might be able to do
And
multiverse.
I guess you said about teasing the multiverse. To me, that's not a multiverse. That's just different, like I guess,
Timelines.
different timelines. So, I mean, I was hoping that would stay themselves, and then they can use, like we talked about in our Endgame review where they would use those timelines to do like a Scarlet Witch and Vision TV show, do it in the timeline. But now I've heard that maybe Vision might not actually be in the show, that he might just be a figment of her imagination.
Oh, really? I didn't even see that.
But only she sees him, which actually would be pretty cool. Mm-hmm. But again, just how low.
That's why it's called WandaVision.
Maybe it could that make sense though. Mm-hmm. So I always thought that the TV shows would be better off in different universes, and I thought that would, or different timelines. But I mean, we'll see. So Fury gives Fury gives Peter this box from Tony Stark. We find out later what it is.
It's Edith.
Which we'll talk about when he opens.
Even in death, I'm the hero.
I love that. Aren't his acronyms fantastic?
Yeah.
Even in death, I'm the hero. And what it is just like the ability to
access all internet. Yeah. It's pretty much Ultron in glasses.
It's what he wears in Infinity War, right? Yeah. The same glasses that allows him to access anything, to see everything.
Yeah. Ultron, but in glasses form and controlled.
We also find out that with Beck or Mysterio, who came into the MCU's Earth, that the Elementals came, and that he's already defeated 3 of them. There's 1 left, and it's going to Prague in 2 days. And Fury says, "Peter, you're coming with me."
He's like, "No, I'm not."
No, I'm not. And he says that they'll all find out I'm Spider-Man, which I think is an argument that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think that's why Fury's like, "Okay, you can go." But in reality, he doesn't want this mantle. He doesn't want to. He keeps saying, "I don't want to save the world this summer. I didn't think I'd have to." Fury brings the guy named Dimitri to take him back. Does this Dimitri have a role somewhere in the future, do you think?
Yeah, Pierce saying he might be the Chameleon.
Yeah, which is in the Sinister Six, right?
Yeah.
So maybe
He's a sucky Sinister Six. The best Sinister Six lineup is Rhino, Doc Ock, Green Goblin. Actually, no, Green Goblin and Doc Ock, they can't coexist. So one of them
wasn't it Hobgoblin?
Hobgoblin.
Yeah, not Green.
Vulture, and did I say Venom?
No.
And Venom.
That's only 5.
And Shocker.
There you go. But it's funny because
actually Sandman. You have to put Sandman. Forget Shocker.
I think that would be a great. I don't know. Like I don't even want to tell the MCU what to do because they know what's going on. At this point in the movie, do you think that Mysterio is good when you're first watching it?
I'm not gonna lie. I'm such an idiot. I really believe the multiverse thing. The multiverse is what really threw me off. Like at the time.
Oh, so we're telling everyone that there is no multiverse at this point?
Yeah, we're doing it. So there's no multiverse. There is not. The multiverse is what threw me off and made me think he actually could be good because he's not from this time zone. So I believe that he could be good. That twist was amazing. It was better than the Vulture twist.
Wasn't it?
Earlier before.
You kind of spoiled this one for me. Not on purpose. I asked for it. I completely asked for it. I saw when I watched Endgame again, I saw the end credit scene, which was the first scene in this movie, which was them in Mexico, and it was Mysterio fighting this Earth creature, and I went to you and I'm like, I don't know much about Mysterio, and I was like, isn't he bad? And you told me he tries to be a hero. And as soon as you told me that, I never even for a second thought he could have been the twist would have been if he was actually good for me.
Yeah.
I'm like, it makes sense. Mm-hmm. So I was like, he wants to be a hero. This is him pretending to be a hero. And so I never suspected him to be bad because of what you told me, that was kind of how his character was.
Yeah, and I know that. Me knowing that and I was tricked, I got duped.
You got duped? That tells you how good this movie was.
Yeah, I was like, me knowing... I'm like, you know what? I thought the entire time, no, he's actually bad. But I'm like, but it's a different timeline. I was wrestling with that in my head, and it got me.
It got you good. I'll tell you this, though. I believe the multiverse thing. I was definitely hook, line, and sinker with the multiverse.
Yeah, that's what threw me off.
But I was not on Mysterio being good. Not for a second. So the next day, the class is no longer going to Paris. They are going to Prague.
Yes.
And Peter's answer to this is great to Ned. Nick Fury just abducted our school trip.
Yeah.
So good. So we see that on the way to Prague, he uses he looks at the
Edith.
glasses. This is where he kind of understands what he has. What are your thoughts on Stark giving the glasses to Parker?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's been mentoring Parker, right? He saw in the previous movie, he's like, be better than me.
Yeah.
He kept telling him. He really believed in Peter Parker and he saw something in him. That one speech that Parker gave Tony really changed in Civil War. Well, look at how all these movies we can
Connect
source
each other.
and then just bring right back, right?
And it's true though, but that's again, that's what real world building is.
Yeah.
Everyone else, take notes of what real world building is. It's not trying to start in the middle. It's building a foundation. It's making movies that we can look back on and be like, Iron Man 2 wasn't that good when it came out. But if we look back at Iron Man 2 and you still haven't watched it like I've told you to, there's so much building there that helped build that all the rest of Phase 1. For me, I like it. It tells me that it answers a question that we had at the end of our Endgame talk, where we asked who would be the next leader of the MCU. And I don't want to talk about that because I want to ask that at the end if you agree with me. But to me, that's exactly what it says. It's Peter Parker, next person. So on the way, they make a pit stop, and Peter gets a new suit.
Yeah.
Because no one will know you're Spider-Man.
Take off your clothes.
Yeah. And Brad walks in with him in his underwear, takes a picture, and then says he's going to show MJ. So Peter, who knows nothing about this Edith thing, is like, "Can we? Do you see this picture?" And Edith asks, "Is he a threat?" And he's like, "Yes." So she sends a drone, Edith, to kill him, and Peter has to save the day. Do you think this was too much?
I guess out of all the plot points, this is probably, in my opinion, the weakest part of the movie. Not by a lot, but just I was like, okay, I guess you had to know that it was gonna kill, like it was meant to kill him. But like they always do, they did this kind of trope before in the Homecoming with the suit, like kill mode. So it's one of the.
It's
not a big deal. It's a fun scene.
I like it because like when after he jumps up, like his hair's all a mess, like Tony's hair would be.
Yeah.
He's wearing like the glasses like Tony. He really looks like Tony.
Yeah.
And it shows that he is just a teenager and he's not perfect. And it helps when he makes this mistake he's going to make in about 20 minutes of screen time.
Yeah.
It helps to understand it that he is a kid. And to me, that it might be too much in terms of cinematic, but the message behind it makes a lot of sense. He acts quickly without thinking because he likes MJ, and right now his mind is on this one thing.
Yeah, he's a teen. He's going through puberty.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what happens to kids through puberty?
So when he gets
horny.
When he gets to Prague, Fury like really hits him hard, and this actually happened in Venice, but I want to talk about it now. And Peter's like, "What about Thor, off-world? What about Doctor Strange? We can't get a hold of him.
Yeah.
What about Captain Marvel? Don't bring her up."
Yeah, Captain. I guess can get to Captain Marvel. Doctor Strange 2 is probably happening at this time.
And we know Fury is and we also know Fury is not gonna hit that button unless it's really emergency.
Yeah.
Like we don't know. We still don't know if he put it for the first Avengers movie when the Chitauri army was hitting Earth. We're not doing this for one elemental.
Yeah, that's left, and then it's pretty easy to beat, right?
Exactly. So now I know, and you know where we're going. I don't want to spoil it for people because I think it's something to talk about in the last credit sequence or last scene. But did you like this rendition of Nick Fury?
At part, I was like,
Even throughout from the beginning of the end of the movie, you talk about before the credits.
yeah. For me, I thought it was weird. I'm like, why is this Nick Fury not as he's not this Nick Fury doesn't seem very. I didn't like it because he didn't seem very like Nick Fury-ish, you know? Like you're supposed to have a watch on anything, no matter what happens. He has a game plan. That's Nick Fury.
You know, when we were talking about when the movie ended and I asked you what you thought, and I'm like, I really liked it. The one thing I wanted to talk about when we left the theater is Nick Fury. I'm like, he's way too trusting, and even in the end when he says like, "Oh, I always had my reservations of Beck," and Hill's like, "No, he trusted him hook, line, and sinker."
Yeah.
And even the way like he allows Parker to ghost him, that's not something I would imagine that Nick Fury would do. So I was that was the one criticism I had of this movie was how Nick Fury was portrayed.
Yeah.
But anyway, Peter Parker has a heart-to-heart with Mysterio. He gets close to him, shows him like, hey, look, I wish I could tell you not to be a hero, but there's something great about being a hero. But you know what? You don't have to be what Nick Fury wants you to be. Like you can be like just this regular kid.
Jake Gyllenhaal, so great as Mysterio.
Oh my god. Then he gets the class to go to an opera to keep them out of danger. Square and out of danger. Which, by the way, again, brilliance.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's like the kids are all dressed to go to this party, and the teacher's like, we got opera tickets for 4 hours, and all the kids are like, this is stupid. And like Ned just looks at Peter, who has like Tom Holland's face in the scene is brilliant.
Yeah,
he's like, you gotta do it.
Yeah,
and he's like, hey, can we get some culture?
Yeah, Ned's like, starts hyping it up. I love the interaction between Ned and Peter. Like, it's just great.
It is.
That chemistry is insane. They've only been in, like, 3 movies together? One doesn't really count because it's, like, 30
4.
seconds. 4? What was the other?
Infinity War and in Endgame.
Oh, they were in Endgame together?
Well, at the end, remember? They do that. All they do is a nice little handshake.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, but it's, again, 30 seconds between the 2 movies.
Yeah, that's true.
But there's a great chemistry between them. But and again, this kind of goes to last week when you're talking about your worst casting. Peter Parker has to be a geek, and Tom Holland can do it.
Yeah.
Even though he is cool. Like if Tom Holland was just talking, like he looks cool. Yeah. But he can play geek. And that's why he's such a great Spider-Man.
Yeah, and he actually looks like a kid. They casted him at the right age, 18, 22.
Yeah.
I think they're doing 3 years. 3 years in high school for Spider-Man.
I hope that next year's the last one in
Yeah, this one definitely will be the last one year because he's 16, graduates the next year. So
18, 2 years. Graduated 18.
Oh yeah, I could technically 17. I graduated 17.
18.
Yeah, because you're in May.
You graduated 18 in May. So you
July 28th.
So you would have graduated at
17.
17.
Yeah, so that's why I always say 17.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So, Peter leaves the opera, and then MJ and Betty leave, and Ned's stuck leaving too, even though he doesn't want to leave because he can't say why he has to stay. And they all go into the square, and Ned and Betty end up going on a Ferris wheel. Great.
Yeah.
And the fire elemental shows up. Did you like the sequence? I don't need to explain it. There's a big battle sequence.
Yeah, I liked it. It was good because it explains a lot, right? You know, the Peter Parker's fear is like, okay, there's a Spider-Man here, and then Betty's like, that looks like Spider-Man, isn't it? And he's like, no, that's Night Monkey. It's a European ripoff, right? And then in the news, they just see Night Monkey goes up, right? It was great, and then you find that MJ discovers the little piece of the thing. I didn't know what piece that was. I thought it was a web shooter.
So the first time I watched it, I thought it was a piece of the Ferris wheel, and I'm like, that makes no sense. Like he uses his webs he uses his webbing to try to stop the Ferris wheel from falling over. But when I watched it the second time, it must have hit a drone because it doesn't actually touch the Ferris wheel.
Oh.
And then when he pulls to pull it back, the piece of the drone gets pulled off and it falls right in front of MJ.
Yeah.
So the first time I'm just assuming like he went to
I thought it was a web shooter.
It hit a piece of the web, the Ferris wheel, and the Ferris wheel popped off. Or a web shooter or something like that. But no, it was actually like it cinematically, it's really quick. You got to really pay attention.
Yeah.
So if you watch it again tomorrow, you'll see
I'll look for that.
After the fight, Fury suggests to beckon to Peter that they both form a new Avengers. We'll go to Berlin and we'll go figure it out. What are your thoughts on that?
I like it. You know, Mysterio's our hero now. He's going to save the world with Spider-Man. Who would have guessed?
But Fury's very hard on Peter and said, you got to make sure you're in on this, right? And
he's a little bit meaner to the kid, you know? Like
he's very mean to him, which again, I didn't think is a very Fury-like thing.
Yeah, like he's stern and everything, but he's not like super mean to a kid.
And he's been mean to Peter most of this movie.
Yeah, like he's not even mean to Captain America or Tony Stark.
Can't be mean to Cap. Cap is like a Boy Scout.
Yeah. Well, I can be mean to Cap.
You wouldn't. If he was here, you would not be mean to him.
Yeah. No.
So Mysterio says, or Beck says to Peter, let's go get a drink. and they go to a bar. And the
this part I'm
glasses,
like-
this girl picks up the glasses from the floor. Where do you think these glasses were from? Like, how do they fall on the floor there?
I have no idea.
I think that they were in his room and he just forgot, and then the girl like put him there to kind of push the story along.
Oh, okay.
Do you think that to me makes more sense?
Okay.
But what ends up happening is, not through asking, but Beck kind of gets Peter gives Beck the glasses.
Yeah.
And the power of the next Iron Man. Was Peter right to do this?
I wouldn't have thought that. He thought he really. So the thing is, he wasn't thinking straight. Hormones. Didn't wanna. I don't think he was right to do this. Big screw up. Tony Stark chose him. He didn't chose him to pick the next Iron Man. He was the Iron Man that he wanted, right? He wouldn't have invested all that time, but he didn't think that. He's just PTSD, wants a vacation, wants to be with MJ. Sometimes, he's thinking with something else and not with his brain.
I find this a really hard question to answer because I think he's half stupid and half smart.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's 16 years old to be the next Iron Man. Iron Man is the symbol of the world. Mm-hmm. He is the arm around the world. He's only 16. His logic makes sense. Tony wouldn't. Mr. Stark wouldn't want me to do it. He knows that I would make the right decision. Mm-hmm. So his logic makes sense. But at the same time, he hardly knows Beck.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a logical problem to have. It's not like he's stupid for giving him, and he's not like he's smart. It's like there is gray here.
Yeah.
So as soon as Parker leaves, the bar transforms. It's been an illusion the entire time, and we find out that Beck is not from an alternate universe, that he is actually part of a huge crew,
huge crew of ex-Stark workers,
including including William Riva, who was a scientist from the first Iron Man movie.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Who
got yelled at by Obadiah.
Obadiah Stane, and he's controlling the drones. You have Guterman, who's making this huge backstory of this is where he came up with everything.
Yeah.
We have Victoria, who created the suit, I think, and you have Janice, who does the readings to make Fury believe that these things are actually going down.
Yeah.
And we have Beck, and Beck is the person who created BARF, the program from Civil War. Another callback.
Yeah.
And the plan is to make Mysterio a hero, which is what he's always wanted in every rendition of Mysterio. The essence of the character still there, even though they changed his entire backstory.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on all of this?
Well, the backstory's not. I wasn't upset with the backstory.
No, but I'm just saying about people who would be butthurt about a backstory.
Oh, I guess I don't know if you can. I don't think you could really get upset with it. Like, I like this better than. I don't think a failed special effects guy could do the same. Like, could stump Nick Fury. Nope. Like, say someone that actually worked for Stark
and who's clearly brilliant, but he was only fired because he was unstable.
Yeah.
And we now start seeing the unstableness of him.
Which was great.
Again, Jake Gyllenhaal, you're the man. The motives to be a hero. I think this is one of the themes of the movie. That we're starting to see...
What it means to be a hero?
No, not even. We're starting to see how regular people are starting to feel about the world of superheroes. Something he says in that speech. So he gives this toast and thanks all of these people. That's how we know all this. And one thing he says that really stuck with me is that, at the end of the day, they only listen to you if you have a cape. Doesn't matter how smart you are. And I really thought, this is the world we live in. Like, you're defined not by your contributions to science or contributions to politics, but you're defined by what kind of cape you have.
Yeah.
And I think there's a real, again, Marvel talk, not really telling us this, but like a subplot to this movie that maybe we see in the future.
Interesting.
Peter, now that he is done, is excited to be on the trip, which has been canceled because for the second time on the trip, there's been an
attack. Yeah.
So Peter says, tells MJ, I'm not ready for this trip to be over. Come for a walk with me. And they go for a walk. And Peter's like, I've got something to tell you. And MJ's like,
You're Spider-Man.
which to me is a very MJ thing to do.
Yeah. MJ's
they
in the
nailed
comics,
this.
he's known. A thing I like about this movie.
But is this Mary Jane
Is
Watson?
all
Because her name is technically Michelle.
Yeah, Michelle Jones. Well, that's an MJ thing. Well, she has the nickname MJ. So, the thing I like about this is nobody's dumb in this. Like, if Spider-Man leaves, if Spider-Man, what's it called? Sorry about that. But the way that everybody
dumb.
notices when Spider-Man's going, Peter Parker leaves, they're like, "Where's Peter?" Like Brad brings it up, like, "Where's been Peter going all this time?" Does no one notice that he just disappears all the time? Like, and everyone just gets upset. It's people aren't as dumb as, let's say, somebody throws on a glasses and then it's you can't recognize him.
Shut up. But no, it does make sense. And Peter tries to deny it initially, and it's hurt because MJ says the only reason I've been looking at you is because I think you're Spider-Man, which breaks his little heart.
Yeah.
And then she shows him the piece of technology, and it goes off. And Peter realizes that Beck is actually bad. And then it's like, MJ, I am Spider-Man, and I screwed up. And he ends up going to Berlin. And she's very to Ned, I figured it out. And I'm doing all this on my own pretty much. Which, again, I really like. And so Peter goes to Berlin. And in Berlin, Fury grabs Spider-Man. And Peter tells Fury everything he knows. But his Spidey, or his Peter Tingle, which, by the way, I loved. It's the Spidey sense, but they haven't called it a Spidey sense yet. They called it the Peter Tingle.
Yeah, they're making fun of it.
It's great, though. You didn't like it?
I don't know how I feel about that.
Well, they'll call it the Spidey
It's
sense
funny.
eventually. They don't have a name
It's
for
funny,
it.
but we'll just leave it at that.
Because it doesn't make sense. Spiders don't really have senses, so they
it's not a spider
But it's
power.
But again, here's your little bit of origin story, right? It starts as a Peter Tingle. He doesn't want to call it a Peter Tingle at first, but he can't tell everyone I've got a Peter Tingle because you can call it a Spider Tingle. Because, well, I guess now, I guess. Well, we'll see. So he has this Peter Tingle, the spider sense that Beck is here. And then we get this huge illusion sequence. What are your thoughts on the illusion?
Oh, that might have been one of the best sequences, and it was better than the Strange sequence, and that's all magic. This is just illusion. This is like, how like Strange goes and sees all the different worlds. This is way better than, I think this is the best like hallucinogenic sequence that we've seen so far. It kind of took me back to like it kind of reminded me a lot of like Mysterio and Scarecrow from Batman are very similar villains. They trip you out with your senses. I thought it was a great sequence. All in all,
I love how like he goes to punch who he thinks is Mysterio, but it's really just a solid like brick wall. Or like he tries to web something or Mysterio, and he grabs Mysterio, and when he tries to pull him close to him, it turns out to be like a crane that he's pulling down on himself. Or like when he goes to jump to save someone, he doesn't know how far it is, so he smashes his head on the ground.
Yeah,
it's so well done.
Yeah, and on top of that, it's like what is it? Like a three-way Mysterio counter trick thing. Like you use super not in the mood for it. Not how do I say not in the mood? He was super duped.
Yeah, because Fury wasn't actually Fury; it was Mysterio. So when Fury kills Mysterio, and Spider-Man tells that I told MJ and Ned about the plan, he laughs as Fury and be like, "You're so gullible."
Yeah.
And he ends up getting hit by a train, and just I guess in time saving himself, but he passes out and he wakes up in a Dutch jail.
Yeah.
And he calls Happy. And I love how like the Dutch are portrayed so nicely. Like he's like, "Oh, you guys are all so nice here."
Yeah.
Like he gave them the shirt because they thought he was cold. They gave him the cell phone. Everyone's so nice.
Like, can I borrow a cell phone? Yeah.
So
here you go.
And he calls Happy to bail him out. And that kind of takes us to London, where Beck this is where his plan is to destroy everyone. He calls Fury and Hill. We have the whatchamacallit. Let me start this again. I'm getting really excited. He reroutes the class trip to London, so they're there too. So everyone's in London. He plans to kill everyone: Fury, Hill, and the class. So on the airplane that Happy picks Peter up in, the two discuss Tony and kind of the mentorship that Tony is. And Peter expresses how he let Mr. Stark down and that he can't be Iron Man. And, you know, it really makes sense, right? Everyone wants to be kind of their dad, right? Especially when your dad is great. You have big shoes to fill. And Happy gives Peter a really important lesson here that Tony wasn't perfect. Like, he made mistakes. Like, he second-guessed himself all the time. And that you shouldn't want to be Iron Man. You should want to be yourself. Does this make sense to you?
Yeah, I like that. That's the best line. Don't be the next Iron Man, be the next you. We heard that in a different movie, Fighting with My Family.
Oh, it's such a good movie.
And it's a great line that makes sense.
So Happy's like, what's your plan? And Peter's has this plan. He's going to attack again, but he's going to go into the illusion to kind of take it down. He just needs a suit. And Happy, provides him with it. In the airplane, they can make his own suit. And he's like, I got the music. And he plays Back in Black, which I loved. And I got this right away, but that's an Easter egg.
Yeah, from the first Iron Man.
The very first Iron Man, the very first scene in the movie is Back in Black is playing when he's in Afghanistan.
Yeah, I thought that's what I knew. I knew that too. It's great. You saw that Easter egg, the homage to that. And then you also see homage of like him being Tony Stark, just setting up the suit and everything like that and moving around, right?
Just like Tony Stark. Yeah. So then we have this battle in London, and I don't need to explain the whole battle. People can watch it. Is there anything that particularly that you liked or didn't like?
Oh, one thing I really liked is the end where he fights the drones and takes them all out.
With his Peter Tingle?
With his spider sense. Yeah, the only way Spider-Man beats Mysterio is because of his spider sense. Other than that, you'd get dummied every time.
Well, and that's the one thing, right? Because the spider sense isn't used in Homecoming or really in the Avenger movies or Civil War. So they had to explain it, and this is kind of it, right? And it wasn't working at the beginning of the movie because of the stress, the PTSD. And they had to, develop it. And I think that's a good thing. I don't think it's a bad thing for the MCU to make fun of it a little bit. I liked a lot of it. I liked what you're talking about. But one of my favorite, again, it's just little writing things. So while Peter's fighting Mysterio, Happy is protecting the kids, and he takes them into the Tower of London, into the Crown Jewels room, and he's fighting off a drawer, and he's holding this shield, and just before he goes in, he throws the shield like Captain America, but it doesn't brutal. And he just says, just to call the Cap, like, how does Cap do it?
Yeah,
it's so good.
Yeah, that was hilarious. I forgot about that scene. That was a great scene.
But again, there's all these little things, and I suggest you just go watch the movie to see like the action sequences. Like it's hard to describe, but they're good. Like he's swinging around the Tower of London. It's very well done.
He's fighting, dodging. The drones are chasing him. He's punching them out, taking them out.
His to get into the battle where he jumps and kind of like uses his like parachute, and then it's very well done. Does the sequence work with the MCU? Like, i.e., that there's no other heroes there?
Yeah. They said they're all busy, right? Hawkeye, I don't know what Hawkeye's doing. Hulk's out of commission.
Hawkeye's retired. Hulk's out of commission. The only people that really could have been called in the MCU are Scarlet Witch, Falcon, the new Captain America, and Bucky.
Yeah, but we don't know.
But we kind of are going to know. This question kind of gets answered why Fury doesn't call them later. But it also makes sense that he wouldn't call them initially because he doesn't know what he's seen until they get there. And then the battle's over in like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. They would never get there in time. So it does make sense.
Yeah, they're in London. It's not like, hey, just teleport. There's no Doctor Strange isn't there to, do the thingy.
So then at the end of the battle, MJ comes over. She goes to the bridge. They kiss. They come back to the U.S. And then Betty and Ned, they've broken up.
But they're still good friends.
Yeah. Is that not hilarious?
Yeah.
It ends with him web slinging Michelle around New York, and she's terrified.
Yes.
Now, doesn't that make more sense? The first time you'd be webbing around, then be like, "Oh my god, this is so much fun!"
Yeah, no, it's not. And I always check because in the first one you can clearly tell that it's a dummy that she's holding on to. In this one, it doesn't look like a dummy, but you see when she's holding, swinging it, it's just a dummy. Oh, it's so obvious, but it kills me.
And then the movie ends, and we get our mid-credit scene, which, oh my god, did you see this cameo coming?
Which one's the cameo?
J. Jonah Jameson.
Oh yeah, J. Jonah
J.K.
Jameson.
Simmons is back.
I'm kind of disappointed by the hair though, but I think apparently they wanted to keep it hidden, so they filmed it as is, like as how whatever your hair is, just come in, do it. If we get you all maked up and everything like that, it's gonna get leaked. So
yes, it would. I'm okay with it. Bring the hair in the next movie, and then like go back and like touch it up and put fake hair and make it look bad. I don't even care. I love the portrayal of J. Jonah Jameson. So J. Jonah Jameson, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, the Daily Bugle has leaked or recut up the sequence of events and made Spider-Man look to be the villain.
Yeah.
Which is so J. Jonah Jameson, which I absolutely loved. But what I really like is they've turned him to be like his website. The Daily Bugle is more of like a conspiracy news website. It's actually called that.
It's kind of like in the game. It's like that in the new game that came out in the PS4.
Do you know what InfoWars is?
Yeah.
It's like InfoWars.
Okay.
It's just a guy screaming at makeup of
like Alex Jones.
Yeah, Alex Jones. That's the guy exactly I'm talking about. That's exactly who it is, and I love it because that to me is more like what J. Jonah Jameson is.
Yeah.
He makes Spider-Man look as a villain, and then he outs Peter Parker as Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And then we got a homage to Homecoming where Spider-Man's like, "What the?"
Yeah.
Are you?
I don't know how I feel about them all knowing his identity. There's a lot of stuff you can't take away. Like
he can't work for the Daily Bugle.
Yeah,
now.
he can't work for the Daily Bugle.
How
and
his
take
life is
going to
change huge. See, this is if I'm gonna have one criticism of this movie, and I'm gonna put a little asterisk beside this because I have the MCU did not do this lightly.
Yeah,
this is not a light decision. This was designed specifically. They made this choice.
Yeah.
So I don't love it, but
we'll see where they go with it.
I think I would have liked them to wait one more movie, but
one more.
But I also have a feeling that we're going to see Peter Parker again before we see Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why they had to do it.
Yeah, and they could maybe fix it now that from the second.
But they have a plan, right? This isn't again. They don't just do it for what would be fun. Let's out Peter Parker.
Yeah. We'll see if they have We'll see what they do.
They have a plan. Like, come on.
But then again, this Spider-Man is not going to be usually Spider-Man's like starving for money and having a rough time, but he's hanging out with Happy Hogan and Shield, and he has probably Tony Stark's funds, so he'll be good.
And that's what I was just going to say. There's no need for him to work at the Daily Bugle because his suits are going to be provided by the Stark Foundation. He has Edith, right?
Yeah.
This isn't the same Peter Parker. If Spider-Man was in Phase 1 doing his own thing,
it'd make more sense.
I would understand it more. If Spider-Man was now in his early 20s and he's already worked for the Daily Bugle, okay. But I'm okay. I've grown to be okay with it.
Yeah.
But it's not traditionally how I see Spider-Man, so I'm kind of
I'm the same way, right? But I'm open to new things. We'll see what happens.
Now, there was a lot of twists in this movie. I think we've spent a lot of time talking, and this is probably our longest podcast on one movie. And I think you're starting to see how deep this movie actually is.
Yeah.
Were you surprised?
Well, not really.
And we haven't even gotten to the biggest twist yet.
We got to go to the future. This is setting up for Phase 4, so that's probably why.
Setting up Sword, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, we don't know if it's Sword.
It's got to be.
Okay.
Well, I think so. But anyway, so our end credit scene is Maria Hill and Nick Fury talking, and they end up turning into Talos and Soren.
Yeah, his wife.
For those of you who don't remember, Talos and Soren are the aliens from Captain Marvel.
The Skrulls.
The Skrulls. And they call Fury to give him an update to say we're screwing up here. Talos is like, well, I didn't know the kid. Beck seemed realistic.
Yeah.
But it makes sense now. All of our criticisms of Nick Fury, he's not Nick Fury.
Yeah, he's Talos. And then it also makes sense why he's like, I gotta keep telling people where the Avengers are. I don't know where the Avengers are.
And that's why he doesn't know. And Nick Fury is he's on an alien ship.
Yeah.
With the Skrulls. Did you see this coming at all?
No.
Not even a little bit.
Not even close.
But on the rewatch, there is one line of dialogue. So the scene where Beck calls them to London, Hill and Fury are talking about Kree sleeper cells.
Ah. So that might be the one throw. Okay.
That might have been the one little hint that. Well, there's probably little hints in his behavior, but that's it. Like it was like interesting. I did not see it coming though, at all. Does this set up Sword? Do you think it does?
I don't know if it's gonna be Sword. Maybe we don't know what he's doing up there.
So yeah, so why do you think Fury's up there?
He might be searching for maybe Nova, or like where the Infinity Stones are, or something like that. Could be one of those things. I don't know. There's a lot of things that they can use it for. Who knows? He's in space with the Skrulls. Maybe he's trying to find the Kree.
Does this? Can we now assume once and for all the Skrulls will be good from this point moving forward in the MCU?
Well, that's
because Talos is the leader, right? He's the leader of the Skrulls.
That faction. We don't know if it's because usually they have a queen that tries to take over and stuff.
So do you think? But do you think that from now what you've seen with the Skrulls in the last two times you've seen them in Captain Marvel and now in Far From Home, do you foresee them turning them evil?
They could always turn evil.
I don't think I would like that. You made us like the Skrulls too much. Like this scene here makes me like Talos more.
Yeah, but you could have just because Talos, you could have another faction.
Not all the Skrulls.
Yeah.
Okay. As long
just
as
some. There could be. It's like Kree. There's good Kree, bad Kree.
But you would say Talos will and his faction will always be serving. They will never turn bad.
Yeah, I don't think they'll turn bad.
I guess my last question about this end credit scene: does this end credit scene make you like the movie more?
Yeah.
Because of Fury, right?
Yeah. It explains a lot.
All right. I've got two quick questions.
Okay.
So my first is, what are your thoughts on the continuing world building? Like one thing I really liked in this movie is like how like Spider-Man, just again one little dialogue of line about how he says, "We thought Thor was a myth, and now we study him in physics class."
Yeah.
Just like getting world building. Was there anything that stuck out for you for the world building?
Not really. We already mentioned most of it.
Yeah,
like
that was really the only scene.
I
want to throw that in there somehow.
Okay.
All right, the last one. Does this movie mean that Marvel is passing the leadership of the Avengers to Peter Parker?
I don't know. I feel like for me, because of his age, it's too early.
I agree with you. I want to agree with you, but it's a lot of Stark references. We talk about the glasses, the music. We talk about the working on the suits the same way.
Yeah, but Stark wasn't the leader of the Avengers, though. It was more Captain America.
There's a leader, and then there's the symbol of the leader. Captain America was the leader of the Avengers, but Stark was the leader of the Avengers.
The symbol.
In the symbol of the leader, at least.
Okay. Yeah, I could see... Spider-Man's not he's not the leader type, like the character.
I still think T'Challa makes the most sense.
Yeah.
You want to talk about diversity? See. Here's your perfect chance. You've built this great character, T'Challa. Here's your chance. Grab it and lead it.
Yeah.
But I get why. Because if we look at like the MCU Phase 1 characters, you had a lot of B-list characters. And Iron Man, a lot of them were elevated A-list, specifically Iron Man. Of what's left, after you got rid of Stark and Cap and Hulk for all intents and purposes.
And Thor.
I don't think Thor is gone though. But Thor I thought was a C-lister going in, to be honest with you. I'm talking about the B-listers. They've got nobody left. Spider-Man is their only like marquee hero right now.
Left, yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about like popularity because clearly T'Challa is hugely popular. We see the Guardians gaining in popularity. Doctor Strange. But going in, do you think Marvel is hesitant to put someone not more of an A-lister to be the leader of the team?
That could be the thing too, right? So we'll definitely see what's going on in the next couple of years or so. This is going to be an interesting era for Marvel.
Yeah. No, I told you I think at Comic-Con they're officially announcing.
Yeah.
If they add a movie here or there, they move anything around. But I told you, not next year. In 2 years, we're really going to see what they're made of when they release the Eternals and when they release Shang-Chi. That's the year. Because they got Black Panther to anchor them. Because we know that's going to make money. We know that's going to be good. But those two other movies, they're nobodies. You release two Guardian-type movies, arguably worse than Guardians, in terms of popularity and known.
Yeah, no, I don't even know. I didn't even know Shang-Chi or the Eternals, so I at least knew who the Guardians were.
So that's going to be something to be said. And I think everything we've talked about outside this podcast is the Eternals is probably going to be a prequel too.
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking to me, 2 of your next 5 movies are prequels with Black Widow and the Eternals. So that means you only have 4 movies before you release, or 4 or 5 movies before you release Endgame. Mm-hmm. Or sorry, not Endgame. The next
Fantastic
Avengers.
Four movie, baby, it's coming.
There
Believe that.
There, when he was webbing at the end, there was like a 3, 2, 1, and then
yeah. Did you see that in the video, or did you see that the second time?
That one I saw in the video, and then
yeah, I knew I saw that in the video.
Another one
too.
I did see, there was a Macho Man Randy Savage Bonesaw versus the actual guy he fought in the comics.
Really?
There's a pamphlet.
Oh.
At the charity event.
Oh, I should have seen that one.
Anything else you want to talk about? I think we did a really good dive.
I think
anyone who's still listening at this point is going to be really.
We're shocked. I think people probably stopped listening halfway. Like, these
there's
guys
no way.
swear.
This is a good movie. They want to know.
Yeah.
All right, what's your rating?
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. Not even close. Marvel does 10 out of 10. Marvel does it again. And just so we're clear, the top 3 movies this year in terms of money are going to be Endgame, Captain Marvel, and Spider-Man. And you keep talking about this superhero fatigue. When is it coming? Because it ain't coming this year.
Not this year, but we'll see.
Okay. All right. Let us move on. That's it for the movie portion. Let's do our top 10. We are doing our top 10 directors.
Yeah, buddy.
And I believe that I went first last time because I believe you ended last week with the, with the
number one
character. So what is your number 10 director of all time?
Number 10 favorite director.
Number 10 favorite director. These are our personal favorite directors.
Yeah. It's my favorite. My 10 favorite director is James Wan. He's known for The Conjuring and Fast 7. He started off in the horror scene, and a lot of the horror movies I felt I liked, I enjoyed. I enjoyed Insidious. I enjoyed The Conjuring 1 and 2. I also enjoyed, I believe, Saw. He's filmed the first Saw. So that's where you get his come up. And then I really like his action sequences. His action movies are pretty good. I'm not going to lie. Some of the action sequences in Aquaman are pretty awesome. But like I said, DC style, no substance. But Fast 7, those action sequences are great. He directed that. Awesome movies. Just severely well done. I'm a big fan. And that's all I have to say.
When I came up with my list, what I was really looking for, I want my directors to kind of have a legacy, have something important that like plot, originality, things like that. And my number 10 is probably a little controversial, but it's the Russo brothers. And don't get me wrong, recency bias. I've said on this podcast, and I'll say it again, that give me a year or two to really wrap my head around Infinity War and Endgame, but together they might be the greatest movie ever created. And these 2 brothers, they have directed 5 movies. That's it. 3 of them made $1 billion. One of them made $1 billion. One of them made $2 billion Endgame, and one of them made 700,000. And the last one is You, Me, and Dupree.
They did that one too.
They're comedy guys. Mm-hmm. They've directed a ton of comedies. They've done 21 episodes of Community, 10 episodes of Arrested Development. They directed a perfect movie, Infinity War. How many directors I can say have directed a perfect movie? Or I can count on my hands. Probably on one hand of what I consider perfect movie. Maybe 2. They did the impossible with 3 movies, Civil War and the 2 Avenger movies, where they had to find ways to put like so many superheroes together and give them all a voice. The expectation for Infinity War and Endgame were astronomical. And not only did they knock it out of the park, they knocked it out of the freaking galaxy. And to me, that's why they're my number 10. Because they did something that I don't know how many directors could do.
for their
And
first four movies.
I look forward to their moving forward. They could definitely move up on this list. My number 9 director is John Hughes. Like the Russo brothers, and this is probably a little theme in mind. They don't have a huge body of work. Believe it or not, John Hughes only directed 8 movies. 6 of them are ridiculously good. He did 16 Candles. He did The Breakfast Club, which is a movie that spoke to a generation. How many directors do that? Make movies that speak to an entire generation. He did Weird Science, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Talk about end credit scenes. Who do you, you know, Uncle Buck, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, where he did the other 2 that were okay. She's Having a Baby and Carly Sue. He worked with actors like Robert Downey Jr., Molly Ringwald, Steve Martin, John Candy, Matthew Broderick. And he wrote them all as well. He wrote all of these movies. He also saved the Vacation movie. He also wrote the Home Alone movies. He also wrote the Christmas Vacation. He also wrote Beethoven, Miracle on 34th Street, the remake, which you know is in my top 10 Christmas movies. He wrote Baby's Day Out. He knew people, and he knew humans and how they work. And he is a fantastic writer-director, and all 8 of those movies are worth watching. I can name like 3 directors, and they're all on my list, where every movie every movie they direct is worth watching. And my number 1 isn't even like that.
Wow. That's crazy. All right. So my number 9 is James Gunn. Pretty recent. So the reason why he makes his list is not because of his Guardians work and all his writing. It's more because I really like the movie Super, which is the one with Dwight or
Michael B. Jordan's coming out party. No, wait.
No, Super. That's not Super 8.
Oh, my
That's
Ellen Page.
Yeah, with Ellen Page and that
so
one.
good.
That movie. I found out that he directed that, and I'm like, I loved that movie. Shut up, crime. Like, that was just a great, funny little comedy. So it's good that Disney were able to find these nice little niche directors and then pull them out and then bring something big for them, right? Big fan of James Gunn work. Really excited for Guardians 3 and see what he did. Plus, he did something to make, like, no-name heroes become freaking B-listers, I'd say. Maybe some of them are A-list.
Like, again, and he didn't even do this, but like Nebula, like,
yeah,
he laid the foundation for that character.
Yeah, the Nebula. Wow, what a great character now. All right,
Star-Lord.
And my number 8 is Robert Zemeckis. One of the movies that I recently loved, but nobody else loves, is Welcome to Marwen. So that was a great movie.
On this podcast.
Yes, we podcasted it. We also did. He's also done a legendary movie, Forrest Gump. Who doesn't love that movie? Tom Hanks is great in that. He's done a lot of other work.
You're forgetting his most famous movie.
Say the most famous movie, Michael.
Back to the Future.
Yeah, I knew you were going to this.
It's my top 5, man. It's a great movie.
I don't know. I'd argue Forrest Gump might be more famous, but
oh no.
No, yeah, probably Back to the Future. But yeah, so he's done the Back to the Future movies as well, which he loved, and I haven't got a chance to see, but I probably would enjoy it.
He would be higher on your list if you've seen the Back to the Future movies.
Probably. I'm not lying. These are, I'm not gonna lie, probably to 6 is when I start getting like really into my favorite directors. These guys just kind of fill the gaps.
My number 8 director is William Wyler. He is a director that has a ton of range. He's old school. He started in the silent era doing shorts. He really hit his mark, in my opinion, when he made Jezebel with Bette Davis and Henry Fonda. But one of my favorite movies with him is a movie called Mrs. Miniver. Miss Miniver was filmed in 1942, and it was following a family in England that was living under, the Blitz and all of these things as the war broke out. It became a very big propaganda film and ended up like helping support the war. And he followed that up with, The Best Years of Our Lives, which a fantastic movie about soldiers that return home that suffer from PTSD. Really like one of the first directors to deal with that, right? Because really up until the 90s, like war movies were like, yay, rah, rah, war. But this is a movie that has like 3 characters that have to return home, like a father, a guy who lost both hands, and then like a more of a middle-aged guy that's kind of looking for love kind of thing. You have to deal with people saying that going for war was the wrong thing. The Nazis weren't that bad. Like it was real life issues that we look at today, and Wyler developed it in 1946. But my favorite movie that William Wyler directed is Roman Holiday, and this is Audrey Hepburn's first movie. He discovered Audrey Hepburn. So William Wyler, you're God just for finding Audrey Hepburn. He also did westerns like Big Country. He did Ben-Hur. He was the first director to win 11 Academy Awards. It's an epic movie, Ben-Hur, Charlton Heston. And he did Funny Girl, so he did musicals. Again, Funny Girl is with Barbara Streisand. It's Don't Rain on My Parade. But yeah, that's my number 7.
That's the song I know.
My number 7 is Howard Hawks. Howard Hawks is getting a great range, versatile. He does musicals, dramas, comedies, westerns, everything. He works with great actors. Made so many classics. He again, like Wyler, started out in the silent era. What made him big was a 1932 movie called Scarface. Not the one with Al Pacino, the original based on Al Capone, who was actually called Scarface.
Yes.
He made Bringing Up Baby with Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn, which is hilarious. It's just a series of unfortunate events. It's about Baby is like a leopard, and they have to kind of protect Baby. And he's also an archaeologist and has a dinosaur bone. It's very funny. He did His Girl Friday. He did Sergeant York, which is a war movie. To Have or Have Not, which is Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall, which they actually end up getting together.
Do you think people know who these are?
I don't know if they do.
No, I'm just joking. I'm joking.
He did Red River with John Wayne and Montgomery Clift. Gentlemen Prefer Blondes with Marilyn Monroe. It's a musical. And then the Rio Bravo. They're like they're fantastic movies. I don't care what you say. They're fantastic. Well, and there are people that know. I bet you if Jerry were here, you know who I'm talking about.
Of course Jerry would know.
They're old movies. They're original, right? Like, and my list is a lot based on originality. It's so important.
Okay, fair enough.
Like found Audrey Hepburn. You find me the person who's your favorite actor?
Actor, probably Leonardo DiCaprio.
So you tell me the person who discovered DiCaprio isn't going to be high on your list, or that turned DiCaprio into a star? I bet you I see James Cameron and Martin Scorsese on your list. And probably Spielberg. 3 guys that put DiCaprio on the map. But let's just say.
You don't need to bet anything, okay?
All right. Anyway, what is your number 7?
My number 7 are the Russo brothers. They made Cloud. I'll second everything that Michael said. And also want to mention that I'm a big fan of just the Marvel movies, right? They were able to capture the world of Marvel, and just their interpretation of it is just so amazing, and I love it. I love it quite a lot. Okay. My number 6 is James Cameron. I just didn't want to say it because he already called me out on it. So he's known for Terminator, Titanic, Aliens, Avatar. I like him more because I like Aliens and Terminator 2. I didn't say the first Terminator, but just honestly, he's has a pretty good track record. A couple of his movies two of his movies made quite a bit of money. They're in the top 10, right? Titanic, a legendary film, and then he surpassed it with Avatar. So Buddy's super rich off of all the movies he's made. Swimming in submarines. I really like James Cameron's work. Sometimes it's a little bit of a miss with the new Terminator movies, but
he didn't direct them though.
He didn't direct them, but he put his stamp of approval. So.
Probably got paid to do that though.
Maybe.
Or got money to make the next Avatar movies if he is directing.
Yeah, that's true. All right, well that's it for James Cameron.
My number 6 is James Cameron.
Wow.
like John Hughes, he only made 8 movies. So far, he's still alive, and each seem to get better. His first movie is Piranha 2. He likes to make sequels apparently because his next
Yeah.
movie is Aliens, which is the second movie in that franchise, but I still think it's the best.
Hmm.
His next movie is The Terminator, and we want to talk about a movie that launched the franchise. This movie is his brainchild. He wrote this. He wrote the Terminator franchise. Every Terminator movie, we have him to thank for that universe that's created. And how many movies were developed because of people watch Terminator like, I want to kind of replicate that.
Yeah.
Originality. Again, it's so important to me. He made The Abyss. And then in the 90s, he just caught fire. He made Terminator 2, which again took Terminator and made it better. And no one's been able to even come close to that since he left that franchise. He made True Lies, which is probably my favorite Schwarzenegger movie. At least top 5 Schwarzenegger movies. And then he made Titanic. And now, Titanic was supposed to be a tire fire. People who went to that set said this movie is going to flop. If you look at some of the early reviews of that movie, it got like 1 or 2 stars.
Wow.
Because people were like, this is not going to be good. But what he did was he recreated Casablanca and put it on a 1912 ship that sunk. And he forever immortalized the Titanic. And it made more money than any other movie ever. So how do you follow that up? How do you follow up the movie that made the most money ever? You make Avatar, which made the most money ever.
And it's still trying to be beaten.
Yeah, and it will probably be beaten this week by Endgame, but I mean, again, a director that just keeps getting better, tons of money, tons of originality, fantastic.
Yeah.
My number 5 director is a guy by the name of Billy Wilder. Now, Wilder is like a lot of the directors I have, is very diverse. He's directed comedies, dramas, romance, rom-coms, rom-drams, dramas. He's very well-rounded. He made a movie called Double Indemnity, which is probably the best film noir ever made. He made The Lost Weekend, which is a sad reality of addiction, which is more pertinent today than maybe ever. He did the original Sabrina with Humphrey Bogart and Audrey Hepburn. Audrey Hepburn. He did Sunset Boulevard. He did The 7-Year Itch. Do you know that movie? It's got Marilyn Monroe. Do you remember that? You know that famous scene of Marilyn Monroe
Where
with
she's
her dress?
in the thing?
That's from 7-Year Itch.
Okay.
He did Some Like It Hot, which is...
Some like it cold.
No, but this is one of the best endings ever. I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but nobody's perfect. And he did The Apartment with Jack Lemmon. It's just his... Like... It's fantastic. That's all I can say. Fantastic. What's your number 5?
My number 5 is Guy Ritchie. Big fan of his work. Guy Ritchie's been doing. I really fell in love when it was like watching the movie Snatch and 99 Locks and I can't say the name of the title right now because I'm so bad at saying it. But just a big fan of like his style of work, like the quick little cuts of the interaction of characters. He's so good at making characters have a relationship and everything like that. It's one of those things that I really enjoy. Looking at my list here, one of the things I super enjoy about him is like the interaction between the characters, just the and just like the little dry humor that he adds to his movies a lot. I really enjoy the dry humor as well. And my number 4 is Quentin Tarantino, baby. The OG. I love almost every movie that he's made. I don't think there's a movie that I actually hate. I enjoy quite a bit all of his movies. Django Unchained, The Kill Bills, Reservoir Dogs. Oh my goodness, I can't hit The Hateful Eight. Just a big fan of everything, and I'm really excited for his upcoming movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Looks very interesting to me. He's another one that his style is very different from a lot of other directors. I like how it's just the different the way the scenes intertwine. Like nothing's always set in the straight straight scene. Sometimes it goes back a couple of years ago, or it goes forward and stuff like that. It's just like Pulp Fiction, that's a perfect example, right? The timeline's so different, but it just all works into one brilliant movie. And that's the truth.
My number four director is Frank Capra. Frank Capra, his movies are real. His movies, they speak to people. His movies are relevant today more now than ever. He, like a lot of older directors, started in the silent era, and It Happened One Night is one of his first movies. It's a comedy. It's a reporter in need of a story. And the reporter, he meets an heiress. He chooses not to report that he found her. Kind of like Roman Holidays, based on this concept. So again, more the original story. He did a movie called Mr. Deeds Goes to Town. Does that ring a bell to you?
Mr. Deeds?
The Adam Sandler remake.
Oh.
It's a good guy who gets taken advantage of, and it gets remade. Like, it's an original movie, and the first one's so good. It's just the heartbrokenness. And Adam Sandler did a good job with it, but the original is so much better. He did a movie called Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Again, a good guy in Washington who gets trampled on by people who are corrupt. Relevant today? Absolutely. Arsenic and Old Lace, which is just a bunch of hilarity. But his best movie, It's a Wonderful Life. It's relevant, feel-good movie that's still played every Christmas. I can go on with Capra. I just picked his best movies, but Capra was brilliant. Everything from beginning to end. My number 3 movie, and I really struggled with this. I initially had 4 and 3 flipped, but I ended up going with 3 as Christopher Nolan.
Ooh.
Now, Christopher Nolan, he writes and directs all of his movies. And why I gave the nod to Nolan over Capra is because Christopher Nolan is original in a time where unoriginality is the norm. This means something to me. It really does. Like Memento, a movie that goes backwards. Even the concept of that's brilliant. Like, just, it's mind-boggling that he would create that. The Prestige, which is my personal favorite. You talk about time with Pulp Fiction. We have a story that's going place in 3 different time arcs, and it's all connecting, but it actually has a plot to it. Sorry, Pulp Fiction. You have no plot. You have the Batman movies. They might be the only DC movies ever that are relevant. Like, at least this century. Like, he created the Dark Knight as he's supposed to be. Interstellar, brilliant. But I'll end with Inception. You want to talk about originality? You know that the Warner Brothers didn't want him to make Inception. They thought it was going to be too out there. It wasn't going to make money. It wasn't going to be good. He basically told the Warner Brothers that he would not make The Dark Knight Rises if you don't let me make Inception.
Wow. And look at Inception. Thank you so much for Inception.
Right? That's it. That's my number 3. Go ahead. Okay. What's your number 3?
My number 3 is Steven Spielberg. Let's see. I don't think there's a director that has more hits than Steven Spielberg. He's, out of terms of director, he's probably has the most iconic movies. Well, I guess if he asks Fuge, probably not. But in my opinion, most iconic. You got your E.T.s. You got your Saving Private Ryan, and what range Spielberg has, right? It's not just like one certain genre that he's a master. He's a master of pretty much all genres. Just the man's contributed so much, and he still contributes to this day. He's kind of starting to actually, he has some super big hits and some big misses. It's still BFG's okay. But I like Bridges. Yeah, Ready Player One was great, and I like Bridges Spies. So there's still some hits and misses. So thank you, Steven Spielberg. You're killing the game. My number 2 is Christopher Nolan. What to say? Like you said, some of the most original and out there ideas in a time when there's no originality, right? Everyone's just taking adaptations from a book.
Or trying to be Marvel.
Or trying to do Marvel. Or let's do a remake or a sequel to a movie that came out 20 years ago. You know, just Christopher Nolan's always just had his own type of style, and then you usually can trust when it's when he releases a movie, it's good. Like you said, you went through all the Prestige, Memento, uh, Inception. People have been
Batman
talking about
movies.
Inception forever now. Like just the dreams within the dreams, and I love that it always there's always a question at the end of his movies, right? Like, is this really?
He plays with your mind,
Yeah,
which is brilliant.
you're like, does this happen? And then everyone starts debating at the end. It's just, man, Christopher Nolan, he almost took the number one spot for me. Very close.
I don't think it was good. I don't think it was close. I think you're just saying that. By the way, just to show Xavier, that's who I thought was your number one.
Wow. I knew,
So
I
my
knew-
number 2 is Alfred Hitchcock, the master of suspense.
I knew it. I knew he'd be on you. That's the only old director I know that you would be on you.
Yeah, how many directors do you not even know that I said?
Like all of them.
Not all of them. Nolan,
Except for
Cameron,
Nolan and Cameron.
and you know the Russo brothers.
And the Russo,
John
yeah.
Hughes.
No.
No.
Well, I knew John Hughes. I just always forget that it's John Hughes.
Alfred Hitchcock. His movies were so realistic. They're so probable they could happen. Like, they're brilliant. Like, suspenseful. That's why he gets you. Like, I'm just gonna name a couple. You know, Rebecca, Rope, Suspicion, Shadow of a Doubt, Strangers on a Train, To Catch a Thief, Dial M for Murder. Like, there's just his early work.
Can he do Psycho?
He did. I was gonna get into the big ones, but the Birds, where like birds just attack a town. You've got Rear Window, which how many TV shows and movies have taken where the creepy guy who's spying witnesses a murder and no one believes him. You've got
Yeah, that's a big
Vertigo.
one.
You've got North by Northwest, and of course Psycho. Do you know that he bought out every freaking book of the that was available so no one would know the twist in the middle of the movie?
Wow.
And like to kill a lead actor in the middle of a movie was unheard of. No one thought he could make Psycho. They made a movie about him making Psycho. It's absolutely
Psycho
crazy.
Killer Norman Bates.
He is fantastic though. I could spend all day talking about Hitch. But my number 1, and I'm going to be honest with everyone here, it's not close. It's one and then everyone else. And it's Steven Spielberg. You want to talk about range? Action, adventure, sci-fi, fantasy, drama, romance, rom-com, historical, war, family, horror, and now he's making a musical? The question is, what hasn't he done? And I just want to talk about this brilliance, okay? Why Spielberg, no one's close to Spielberg, is he redefines genres of movies. No one does it, and at least no one does it as much as he did. Hitchcock, great, but he was a one-trick pony. Nolan, fantastic, but again, it's a one-trick pony. He does the same kind of thing over and over again. As Xavier said, it's his type of movie. He has a stamp on it. Spielberg doesn't. He broke barriers. There's no more influential director that has ever worked in Hollywood. I'll start with Jaws. He didn't bloody show the shark. He made people afraid to go into the water. I would hear stories of people like from my dad and like all of his friends about Jaws and how like when that movie came out, like we were legitimately not wanting to go in the water. Like that's crazy. We talk about the ET science fiction ideology and like the bike scene, like how incredible. Like we talk about Stranger Things now. There is no Stranger Things without ET. How many movies are there not if there's no ET? We talk about the Indiana Jones movie. Do you understand that when he made the Temple of Doom, the Motion Picture Association of America, the people who rate movies, said we can't give this a PG rating. But they respected Spielberg so much they didn't want to give it an R rating. So they created the PG-13 rating for Spielberg for Temple of Doom. How many directors can say they created a freaking rating system? The Color Purple. Oprah's first movie. Now, granted, she was doing TV stuff, but what put her on the map was The Color Purple. Whoopi Goldberg's her second acting credit was The Color Purple. A movie that broke barriers for African American culture. I can talk about Hook. You know, one of my favorites. I just love it because Peter Pan. But take a different take on Peter Pan of him being an adult. Jurassic Park and The Lost World. They redefined special effects. and how they do it. And something that I could have talked about with Cameron as well in special effects. But he made them so realistic that Jurassic Park looks better than the Jurassic World movies that have been coming out. Schindler's List may be his crowning achievement in making a movie that shows the story of the Holocaust. Saving Private Ryan. Do you know that war movies were redefined after Saving Private Ryan?
Yep.
That before Saving Private Ryan, war movies were just, let's let one guy run around and kill 100 people. But he did his research, and he did this for like Band of Brothers and things like that he's done with World War II. And before he screened it to the public, he brought in all the World War II veterans to screen it for people that were on D-Day. You know what? They walked out of that theater and were interviewed by reporters, and they said, that's the closest I've been since June 6th, 1944. He made it realistic, and every other war movie now is taking that Saving Private Ryan kind of
feel,
that aspect to it. Minority Report, Catch Me If You Can, Bridge of Spies, Lincoln. Lincoln is a movie that made the second most amount of money that year. It's a drama. That movie is not supposed to make money. And Ready Player One, and now he's making West Side Story, a remake of a musical. The guy's got range. There's no one like him. And that is why
that's the tooth.
It's Spielberg and everybody else. Who's your number one?
My number one is Martin Scorsese. I love his work. I know Fooch isn't the biggest fan. He doesn't like. You don't like Casino, do you?
I love it. It's my favorite Scorsese movie. I love
That's
Casino.
the only one you like.
I love it. I love Casino.
I love Casino. I love The Departed. I love Wolf of Wall Street. I love his style. It's just such a fun movie. As soon as I sit down and watch, I get so engaged. Time just stops, and I just am immersed in the world that Scorsese has created. I don't know, top notch. I just love the work so much. Obviously, everyone has their different opinions. I'm not gonna lie. Steven Spielberg does have range. He's amazing. But me personally, a lot of them, I prefer the style that Scorsese does a lot more, even than range. But keep in mind, this is all our personal opinion, right?
I haven't said anything.
We're gonna fight after this, and then to the death, actually. But it's just, I don't know. It's just one of the, and he always gets his good. He takes a lot of Leo. I'm not gonna lie, Leo, Robert De Niro. He takes a lot of the good guys out. Just such a great director, and I'm just gonna leave it at that.
That's fine. I'm just saying Tom Hanks and Spielberg are like buddies, but okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyways, what are your honorable mentions?
Honorable mentions. I don't really have much. Maybe the guy I need to see more from. So the one guy I really like is the guy that did The Big Short and Vice. I want to see more work from him and see what comes out after that.
I got 3 honorable mentions that I really were looking at. Robert Zemeckis was one of mine. I love Back to the Future. You didn't even say Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which is to me his second best movie, and obviously Forrest Gump. I don't think he has enough consistent work or original work as some of the other guys. Clint Eastwood, I really thought about. Unforgiven, Gran Torino, $1 Million Baby, American Sniper, Sully, Sudden Impact. He did the second Dirty Harry movie, and Charlie Chaplin. I love those 3. Now,
I know Charlie Chaplin.
You know Clint Eastwood.
And Clint Eastwood. Yeah, I know.
All
I
three
meant
of
like
those
the old. I meant the old out of the old time. That's.
He directed, wrote, did the music for, and starred in all of his movies and produced. He did everything. He was just literally did. Like when you watch a movie for credits, it's like Charlie Chaplin, Charles Chaplin, Charles Chaplin.
Wow.
Now I'm gonna get heck for not putting a couple of directors in, so I just want to make a quick comment for them. I don't like Quentin Tarantino. I think he has no plot. I think his movies are they lack plot. Pulp Fiction is the great example. I don't mind his movies. Like I'll watch his movies, but I feel like there's cinematic goodness to them, but there's no plot, and I don't really like that. Martin Scorsese.
He's just a hater. Don't listen to anything he says. He can't
end a movie. He doesn't know how to end a movie. He just likes the shit to hit the fan. And I'm sorry, but that's not good enough for me.
Hater.
And you talk about like, yeah, he does the same movie more times than not. They're gangster movies where
I love gangster movies.
But that's the thing. Like, his best movies are when the villains or the bad guys are portrayed like good guys. And I don't like that. And then lastly, Stanley Kubrick. I'm just not an overall fan. I think some of his movies are boring. That being said, Clockwork Orange is fantastic. So that's it for us for the week, right?
Yep.
Next week on the podcast, Xavier will be here with Jerry as I'm gone for a couple of weeks. And then Dave's gone for a couple of weeks. So you won't see me again until August.
Yeah.
I know you'll miss me or not. But Xavier and Jerry will be doing deep dives into Stuber, the movie Crawl, and they're going to go to the vault and talk about Jaws.
Yeah, buddy.
So that's it for us for the week. I hope you guys have a good weekend. For me, have a great summer.
Yes, take care, guys. Enjoy your summer. It's just going to be me, and this podcast is taking a new direction, baby. Woo!
Have a good one, guys.